All right, we will call to order the City of Ojai Parks and Rec Commission meeting for Thursday, November 3rd. And if we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Gilbert, can you lead us? Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And roll call, please.
Okay. Commissioner Gilbert.
Here.
Commissioner Wilson.
Here.
Vice Chair Ittner.
Here.
Chair Dutter.
Here.
Commissioner Firestone.
Here.
Absent tonight are Commissioner Murphy, and we still have one vacancy on our commission.
Indeed. Okay, public comments. We do have a couple. We will start with Mr. Lamar.
Commissioners, good evening. I'm here representing the Ojai Valley Bike Coalition. I just recently become active. We sort of have a group now that's an advocacy group. I don't know if you've heard of it, but and it's being headed by Russell Sidney from the Ojai Valley Green Coalition. So we've got a lot of really great people who are very proactive supporting this Ojai Valley Bike Park. And I'm here tonight to introduce myself to you and let you know that I'm going to be facilitating the process of moving things along from a planning level. We have a lot of great people within the Ojai Valley Bike Coalition, but it seems like no one really had the expertise to sort of guide this portion through. And so I've had some meetings with Toby Green, and she's been working with me to hand off some of those responsibilities. I'm now working with Holly with, she has a really great name, and she's an environmental impact study person. And Sites Pacific. I don't know if you've heard of her, but I love that name. So she and I have been talking quite a bit this week. She would like me to have a grading plan in place as soon as possible to facilitate and support her within the environmental study. And so I'm going to be looking for a civil engineer to begin to help me with that. We don't have a lot of funds, so I probably would be looking for someone to help with that, pro bono or semi-pro bono. And I'm have a background in horticulture, and so I'm going to be trying to do whatever I can to facilitate the biology of the report and working with the oak trees. I might lean on my friend Mike Anaba to help as well. And I recently did a project about 5 years ago at the Mob Shop, and I was the one that designed that, the exterior portions and the landscape and the building. So I have some experience there, and I'm excited about this, and learning a little bit of a learning curve with some of the process within this one because of some of the complications within the fact that the city, it's a city-owned property, will eventually be a city-owned facility. And so I'm trying to maybe meet with Mr. McCleary on that and get up to speed with exactly how that's going to happen. So do you have any questions?
Is the grading plan the only thing that Holly's waiting for?
Well, she'd like me to get familiar with the MS4 permit from the county, and so that's pretty extensive within the SQUIMP requirements that are now part of pretty much every project where they want to maintain all the water on site, going through some sort of filtering system that's hopefully, biologically happening there. And so, but what she emphasized to me in our last phone call was get a civil engineer. Let's go. That's what we need, a civil engineer. And I would agree with her that that's going to be the best way to go. And I have a lot of experience with drainage and so on. But at this particular time, I think that, that's the next step. And then everything else, I think I'll be up to speed on by the time we get that rocking and rolling.
Any leads on a civil engineer yet?
Well, I know a lot of civil engineers, and she recommended one. And I'm looking for, I want the synchronicity to navigate me towards the right person.
Right.
That will hopefully, help within a pro bono or semi-pro bono environment.
Mm-hmm.
So the answer is no one specifically, but I'm starting to, I just started on that today.
Okay. Anybody else? Any questions?
I'm just going to say, John, it sounds like you're a great addition to the team, so thank you for helping,
Yeah, my pleasure. It's exciting.
and thanks for giving us the
Forward to moving
update
forward.
as well.
Yeah, thanks for coming and introducing yourself. I appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. All right, our second speaker card is former Chair Rylander.
Hi, guys. Thank you. Haven't been here in a while. I came tonight, and I want to thank you for letting me speak for a minute to give you an update, a Skate Ojai update, and where we are with the lights. Just in case anyone is watching, we've gone through the approval process for last couple years of getting fully approved for lights at the Ojai Skate Park through the Planning Commission, the City Council, Parks and Recreation, and also, who am I forgetting? I feel like I'm forgetting one. Park and Rec, Planning, City Council, one more. There's one more in there.
I don't think historic preservation got
No,
involved
school
in that
district.
process.
Sorry.
School district,
Very
right.
important, school district. So
Yeah.
anyway, we've gone through the process. It's fully approved, and we just needed to come up with the funding. Our budget estimation was $60,000. So I kind of want to go through just a quick, I resigned as chairman in August to focus on this, as well as other things. And we've been doing it. My son Kiefer set up a GoFundMe about 16 months ago, and to date, he's raised, or the very generous donors have raised, $5,790. GoFundMe takes 10% of all donations, so take 10% off that. And all those funds have been put into the Skate Ojai account at the community bank here in Ojai. That GoFundMe is still up. It's called Light Up Ojai Skate Park, if anyone ever felt like donating still, because we're still raising funds. And then we had a really successful event at the Caravan Outpost, which is a really awesome new business here in Ojai. They opened up their doors during their grand opening and let us have a fundraiser for the lights, which was, for me, amazing for a local business to use business to inspire. And we collaborated and had a silent auction. We also had raffle, and then we had some donors, local donors, like the pool store donated $500, and a father who actually lives in Carpinteria, and they come here like 4 nights a week, or 4 days, not nights yet, to skate. Their son skates, and they wrote a $1,000 check. So between all that, that was, at that point, between Kiefer's GoFundMe and Caravan Outpost, we were about $18,000. We recently, and I brought you a flyer, just this last Saturday night, I don't know if you know, but Chris Miller, like I'm announcing, he moved to town. Chris Miller's a local now, but he just moved here. He's a professional skateboarder. Everyone knows who Chris Miller is if you skate. He's kind of a legend. Anyway, he just moved down the street, and he is very generously, he's also a photographer, among other things, and he had an art show with the Porch Gallery, a collaboration with the Porch Gallery and Azu, and this last Saturday night they had an opening of his exhibit, which will be open till January, and he graciously is donating the proceeds of his photography after his cost to the lights, which was rad, because he just approached us on that, and that was very nice. And he skates the skate park all the time as well. And that was very nice to the Porch Gallery and Azu to put that together. There was a ton of people. And then Skate 1 which is a local business in Santa Barbara, Pal Peralta and many other brands, donated 50 decks to me, and over the last couple of months, I've been passing them out to artists. This one's for your brother, Sage. We were going to do this a little earlier and have an art show, but it was postponed. So I'm hoping in December we'll do that, and we'll probably do that at the Caravan Outpost again because they've opened up their doors as well. And then the last thing is about 2 months ago, I wrote a grant, got online, learned how to write a grant through webinars. First time I ever did it. Wrote a grant proposal for $42,000 for a foundation. Monday night, I got a call, or Monday day, I got a call, and they are going to donate $42,000 to the Ojai Skate Park.
Congratulations.
That's awesome.
So
Congratulations.
Yeah, we have a committee for you now.
$60,000. I can't go into any details because that literally happened Monday. Chet was going to come tonight, but he was unavailable. So we would love to be on the agenda for the next meeting. The whole part of this is working with the city and Park and Recreation and collaborating to make this happen. Very excited. The donors would like to remain anonymous right now. I wrote a 12-page grant proposal, which it was funny because they were like, this is the biggest grant proposal we've ever received. Because usually it's like a Word document. I mean, I had photos, the whole thing. One of the things that he told me on the phone, and this is was very sweet, and I understood that he got it, it wasn't just about the lights. It's about community. And he could see by what we presented that this is going to enhance facility, and they're all about recreation. Their whole grant process is about recreation. So it wasn't just about the lights. It's about what's going to happen when the lights are on. So I'm super excited about that. And just kind of want to let you know, we'll be getting a hold of Steve and everybody and Greg and getting ready with the next part of that process. I just beg you guys that we waited so long that now that it's here that we expedite the process, obviously in the most professional way, but that we can make this happen. It's going to be dark this Sunday, and honestly, it's the time of year when there's nothing to do and it's dark, and it would be great to have 4 hours a night, more recreation, for the kids, and have something to do, because winter brings on depression. I hate to say that, but a lot of other things that just keep the kids busy and the parents and families. And I also brought you some photos. I brought you the art reception piece, and I also brought some photos because Shane went out the weekend before I wrote the proposal, and there is an insane amount. There's a whole new generation of skaters. There were so many. This was one weekend. How many families with little kids? I'm talking 1.5 to that 10 age range with parents out there. And so it's not just the teenagers you see when you go skate by, but literally there are a lot of families here that are really interested in the skate park, and he just kind of asked them why they would appreciate the lights. So it's a whole nother generation of people. So that's what I want to say. And my last thing I want to leave with is go vote on Tuesday, because one thing I've learned all these years is it really matters who the mayor is. And it also matters who's on the council when it comes to our youth and young families. And it matters what they believe in, because if they don't believe in us or them, all of us and community, things don't happen. So I would go vote if I was you.
That
So
is
that's
awesome.
it. I'm going to give you some of those photos and the flyer on the event.
We're a big fan of show and tell now. We have a show and tell portion of
I
it.
know, you like that.
Yeah.
In my novel,
I'd love to see that.
That is,
this is for you.
Okay, I'll pass that on.
I'll tell you the time frame later.
so a couple things. I have a couple questions, actually.
And I told Chet I don't know if I have any answers.
That's
So-
okay.
Just because we literally
Yeah.
it was Monday, I was homesick, and I saw the call, and I'm like, I got to take this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
We've waited so long, so.
It's great.
Yes, we still want a third. Just kidding.
Still on what? We will definitely put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Thank you.
In terms of project timeline? Do we know that? In terms of how
No,
long?
so
I mean,
literally,
once it's approved, how long it would take to install? I mean,
it's
Greg might
not
be able to answer that
long.
later.
It's
too.
not long.
Okay.
It's just literally, we just need to go through the process with
Just
Steve
curious.
and Greg and, you know, the
Right.
city. And because it's been approved, so
Right.
literally, and the plans are in there.
On
so.
lockdown. On
I mean, not
lockdown
the
on-
final plans, but what we needed to do to get this
Right.
site started, so.
Okay, I was just curious. Is there any way we could get a copy of your 12-page grant proposal?
Maybe.
Thank
Just
you.
kidding, yeah. No,
Okay.
I'll send it to you. I send it, I had to make, I also sent it and it was like huge. So I had to compress it. So I can,
Attachment, yes.
Right.
yes, I can send you. I learned a lot doing that. So I'll
Okay.
definitely share it.
Thanks.
Thank you,
We have
guys.
a new subcommittee
Oh, you
on
do?
the Parks and Rec Commission.
would
That's-
love you to
That's
participate
called, that's revolves around grant writing. So if you know, once this project's
I don't know, I've only written one, but
That's
But
one
you're,
word,
you're
right?
batting 1,000.
That's right.
that's funny. My heart was in it.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sunday.
Thanks, Sunday.
Thank you.
Before Sunday sits down, can you guys clarify, can somebody clarify the funding again? Did I hear 18,000 you have on hand
Wait.
and 42,000 in a grant?
Yeah, and the
Yes.
money will be going into the Gateway bank account next week, so.
And then
So
I
we have
see,
$60,000.
Okay, and then I see in our CIP funding levels that we've got $65,000 set aside for this year. Are we saying that the lighting system is 130,000 plus?
No.
No, that was the total project.
Yeah, that was a total.
The
It was-
total project was 69,000, correct? So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
It's confusing.
Yeah.
In the
so-
CIP, we had the same discussion last month.
yes.
And I haven't been sitting over there, so I don't know.
Yes, yeah.
It's okay.
It's
The
just what
total project,
cost of
the total
project-
cost of the project was
project.
69,000, and one of the original conversations was that our portion, the city's portion, would be 1/3 on some of the larger projects like this, but clearly Skate Ojai has come in with more than their fair share, so,
Okay, I just wanted to clarify.
We did it.
Yeah,
yes, thank you.
Good job.
Anybody else have any questions for Sunday before?
good job.
No.
Thank you.
That's awesome, Sunday.
So
Now what am I
exciting.
gonna do?
I know.
You can come to help
You
us
can
on our
come
grant
back.
writing committee.
I gotta fight for something. What can I fight for now?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
No presentations. Police Department report.
Good evening.
How you doing, sir?
Good evening.
Been a while since I've been here.
Yes.
Sergeant Brian Coppenjan with the Ojai Police over here. Here for Mike Ferguson. Probably won't see Mike for a while on your night meetings because overtime's tight and he would have to stay late. So you'll probably see me or Sergeant Bob Berger, who's one of our new sergeants there. I don't have a lot, but I do have a few things. We worked with Public Works in the last probably 30 days and removed a large encampment of homeless down there at Lower Libby Drainage. They were causing a lot of problems for your tennis people down there, both on the weekends and during the week and stuff. So my only comment on that was if you get any input on your end where you people see these encampments starting to grow, it's better to get us early than later, because if they've established to start building things, I understand this place had a wet bar and like it was quite elaborate down there in
Wow.
the drainage. And they're very expeditious. They'll build things very quickly. So the sooner you get that information and get it to us, we can get in there. In this case, we gave them, I think, like a 3-day notice to sort of get their stuff out of there. So if you're not familiar, state law basically requires law enforcement to safeguard their property. Years ago, if somebody had a homeless cart and when it was filled with what appeared to be junk, that person, if they got arrested or something, that stuff just kind of went by the wayside. And the law now says we have to safeguard that, even though it may not be valuable to us or to the common person. So the same thing kind of applies in those encampments. So we can't just go in there and just scoop everything and throw it in a dumpster type thing. So we need a little bit of notice on that. We've been doing a lot of patrols in the 3 parks. Normally, well, more than 3, but Club Vista, certainly, Libby, Sarasota, and Soul Park, staying very visible. Seem to have minimal problems lately, so knock on wood, things are going pretty well. I don't know what you've heard on your end, but we've gotten some pretty good things. I know the light up the playground, forgive me if I don't know the right terms, that went off really smoothly, well attended, no problems. I've been on dawn shift now for a couple months, and I usually see that later night stuff, whether it be the skate park, whatever, and honestly, things have been really good, so hoping all that continues. So that's pretty much what I have. Do you have any questions or anything you want to send our way?
Just a comment too, I noticed the graffiti seems to be down too,
Yeah.
not to.
Yeah, visibility definitely pays off. We have a lot of very young, energetic deputies at the station. If you're driving around and you see 2 people in a car, it's because we have 5 trainees at the station right now.
Oh, wow.
So when we have new trainees, we tend to be more out on foot, more doing stuff. So through the holidays, you should see, like I said, again, knock on wood, should be good, no graffiti, and you know, things have just been going great, so.
Well, thank you for the Libby Under the Lights and letting us have those lights. That is a great event, and it's a wonderful
Yeah, oh no,
partnership.
wonderful, wonderful. Well attended and real positive, and I agree with some of the comments. The more things to do during the winter time, the better. We don't want people locked up and then sneaking out at night and doing bad things. So
Yeah.
it's always good to have those opportunities. So
Well,
nothing else. Thank you. It's always good to come see you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for
Thank you.
coming.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, moving along, we have Public Works report. Mr. Grant. Definitely.
Good evening to everybody.
Uh-oh.
This is on or not? Okay, good evening. I do have a little hoarse throat. I think I'll keep my distance, but I think I'll blame it on my daughter. She got
going-
the cold.
it's going
I got
around.
laryngitis is what I got, pretty much, so. But anyways, yeah, I think you were asking for a couple items here. Sorry to respond to those. One of them was the plaque donation for the picnic area, but I believe, are you talking about more of the plaque for the Ojai Civic Association, or were you?
For the barbecue.
For the barbecue.
Yeah.
So we had an interested donor, somebody did donate the barbecue, but at this point, we haven't been able to contact them. We've had a little trouble, and we were just looking at options anyways. So the thought was, though, that the Ojai Civic Association had the primary donation for this. And so similar to the plaque that's over at the restroom at Sarzati, it's kind of about a 10 by 12 plaque.
Mm-hmm.
It's over the sink area. That'd be a very similar plaque for the Ojai Civic Association. So if the barbecue donation comes through, it would be much simpler just because the scale of it is much simpler.
course.
So the thought was do something more like a smaller brass plaque that would go on the barbecue.
Similar to what's at Libby?
Yeah.
Is that
Yes, yeah, right.
playground?
So one at each barbecue,
Right,
at each station?
right.
Okay.
So
But
the ones
that's
the ones that at Libby are actually a raised bronze. We were almost thinking something a little bit simpler. It's more like a brass plaque, you know. But
Right.
the donation level is kind of similar. We did land up with the plaques that we purchased at Libby. They came up with a thinner level, which is much less expensive. So something anyways scaled it down, kind of in the
Mm-hmm.
6x4 type range or so that would go on each one of the barbecues.
Okay.
And I was hoping to talk more about the barbecues as well. And I guess this might be an appropriate
Yeah,
time.
go ahead. I was going to ask actually about the whole.
Okay.
All the picnic
The whole-
structures in general.
The whole
I was out
project,
there
right?
walking it
So
today,
uh,
actually.
why don't I keep, if everybody, could pass one to everybody, appreciate it. And so I was a little bit concerned just with the drought and some of the fire problems and looking at the barbecues. So the one I'm passing around right now is these prefabricated, high-quality barbecues you tend to see at parks and so on. And they make quite a few sizes. I kind of just gave the quick cover they have, you know, everything from small to the group site that I talked about at one time here. And so those were the original intention, but I'm a little bit concerned. I know some people like to go over there and kind of use wood to start kind of an oak fire to really stoke up a bunch of coals. And if that was happening with these kind of fires, they're not as enclosed as the existing barbecues, and it's a possibility that could get out, especially over on the east end of that bigger shade structure, and they could get into all the mulch that we have or the leaves and so on. So I was hoping for your input on, we could go with this approach. It's kind of a nice, clean, smaller approach. They're prefabricated, the two mediums for smaller structures and two large for the bigger structure add up to about $3,000 or so. So it hits the $3,000 range. Now, if we instead went to the two attached pictures are the existing barbecues that are out there right now. So you probably recognize those even though with the fencing and all that around. But the one with the table is, of course, the one over by the playground. It's a little bit bigger, and I think the size I had written down, they're about 32 by 70 for each grill. So there's two 32 by 70 grills on that big one. Now, the smaller one that's over by the restroom has two 24 by 52, so a little smaller. And they seem to be most frequently used, I believe, correct, Sophocles?
Yeah, that one's, that's the area that's typically rented. I don't know if it's just because of barbecues or just the whole area is been.
Right, okay, it's underneath the shade of the big oak there, so it's kind of a prime spot. Okay, right.
And there's a sink there too, adjacent.
So I did get a quote for taking these frames and refurbishing them. You know, they've got some old cables and they're kind of rickety. The one over by the playground is kind of, it doesn't have a guide on it, so it kind of shifts around. So to add a guide and to replace some of the mechanism up top, but the frame's all in pretty good shape, and put new screening on it and so on. And to take those frames and take the large one at the playground area, move it over to the big shelter, and then take the small one by the restrooms, break it in two, and put one at each one of the smaller structures is about the same price. So that's kind of an interesting option. I think it contains the coals a little bit better for, I don't know how high the risk of fire is, a little bit more on the east end, but it also protects kids, you know, if they happen to go up. I mean, I can't say I've heard of that a lot. I mean, all the campgrounds we all go to typically have this other type of structure, and you don't.
Right.
Usually the kid gets burned once, you know, and then they sort of catch on.
It only takes once.
Not a good idea. Yeah.
How big
let's
are
move
these?
The those come in a full variation of size. I think the biggest size that it went up to was it's shown on
Guessing
there.
the 48 is the inches.
Yeah, right. Is that so they went all the way up to 60 inches wide, 66, but it's a 60-inch grill by 2 foot deep. So that's actually pretty similar in size to the existing one by the restroom, because that was 2 foot deep by 52.
Right.
So actually, it'd be kind of like using one of these very large scale grills that I think it was. Yeah, it's a little different layout. There's one here that is kind of the 66 by 24 inch.
It's kind of like the big one, but triple wide on one
Right.
post.
Right. So, you know, these have a little cleaner appearance, and it might be a little bit. We were kind of discussing that. You know, if you had doing a barbecue and you want to bring in a bag of charcoals, the type that kind of ignite on their own and so on, you could dump a nice sized bag in either one of these. But this is a little more manageable on a smaller scale.
I love the idea of repurposing what we have. I really like that. And I also think that it adds a different level of flexibility to barbecuing, because of the be able to take it up and down depending on what you're cooking. I don't know, it seems like I like the idea of reusing what we have too.
I mean, the other ones are adjustable also,
But not to that same
but not to
degree.
that extent, yeah.
Yeah, I'm taking it off the heat and on the heat. And I think it's also nice that, I bet some people use firewood and, wood in the current setup. And it doesn't seem like it, from the pictures that I have, that would be as easy to do that in the new style.
Or if they did do it, I would be more concerned about ash and other things
It
flying
just
out of
doesn't
it.
look, yeah.
It's not as well contained.
Yeah, so I think, from my perspective, it sounds like you have the most flexibility with the kind that we already have. So if we can repurpose those. We're looking at the current barbecues and repurposing those and fixing those up. I think that allows for probably the most flexibility in use.
And it would be refurbished, so, I mean, right now, they're a little bit,
Yeah.
it's kind of a trick to wind them up and down and so on, so.
But once they're fixed, yeah.
But it doesn't seem to take too much muscle or anything. I think most people could run them.
That Santa Fe style grill is aesthetically pleasing, I feel like, more than, and it is a little bit more useful with oak wood. That does change the flavor of foods if people are into that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a
I was just going to say, what Sage said, I think it's a great idea to repurpose what we have, and these seem, like you said, maybe safer and more flexible in how we could use them. So it sounds like a good idea.
I'm not passionate about it either way. I would, I mean,
Right.
I would kind of lean more towards the new grills, but that's just because my thinking is if you're going to spend the same amount of money, why not get new? And to be honest, the concrete and the cinder blocks take a little more maintenance, and you can tell obviously in the one closest to the bathroom, it's pretty beat up. Whereas, not to say these wouldn't, but I would assume that these, we've all been to Lake Casitas and whatnot, and they seem to do pretty well with very minimal maintenance.
It's probably a little cleaner appearance with the prefabricated style.
Yeah, it would be easier to get all the ashes out for sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure the refurbish would it be having new cinder block structures built and all that stuff, maybe, or would that be repurposing these locations?
We would only reuse the framing and some of the axles and things,
Okay.
but
So
it
it
would
could be
be
kind of
all new, and it would be fire brick inside. I don't think these had fire brick on the inside.
They do.
Probably not.
So there could be kind of like an access. Well, that might already be part
That's
of the.
that's kind of the initial quote I got. This one is a locked-in price from the company, and this is an initial rough number that I'd be working with
And I do like the aesthetic better
Yeah,
of the old.
of the old style.
yeah. These have been there for.
It does seem like on the case where you bring in the heavy firewood and use oak or whatever, it's very well contained. And if people did it on these, and like you're saying, they're kind of easier to clean, but that might mean that we land up with a lot of ashes if somebody's in a hurry.
Ash
to
on the
just dump
ground
it
and
Yeah,
whatnot.
on the
yeah,
ground or on the concrete and things, yeah.
Councilman Haney?
This could be one of these evenings where I'm going to be up here a lot. I just, obviously, well, first of all, I owe you guys an apology for missing last month's meeting, but I'd like some background. For instance, how many actual sites are going to be permanent stationary for barbecuing and permitting? And maybe for something like that, you want a stationary permanent fixture. And then maybe for other picnic areas throughout the park, you may want to go to a portable. And then the other thing that I looked at on this too is if you're looking at permitting someone to use this, you can probably get these made where they come off so that you can actually, as part of the permit process, say, would you like a barbecue? Would you
Like
like
slide in and
this?
out of the hole.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then that way it's part of the rental feature. And that way you're not set having these in the facility and every person having the option, if they don't have briquettes, to just break a tree branch off and burn it.
Right.
So, again, I'd be inclined to think that these refurbishments would be great. I think they're a great idea, but maybe in a permanent stationary aspect of the facility, and then maybe incorporating a couple of these smaller ones.
Are there
Again, I'm not
three
sure where you guys
spots?
are on where you're, where
There's
you
3
vision.
spots, I
there's
believe,
3.
right? And so what if, for the large one, if we repurposed the existing, and then on the 2 smaller structures, we did,
But those are still going to be,
Something like that.
those will still be permanent too.
Yeah.
All
right, I
three
know,
of those
but
are
they're they're
permanent.
significantly smaller, though.
Just to clarify that, it would be for the 3 proposed structures. We have the big structure and the 2 small. We weren't really talking about any other
Right.
picnic areas or any
Throughout
barbecuing
the
areas
park.
around the park.
But I think as it pertains to the plan and the master plan, I think we've even talked about, as part of the master plan discussion, hoping to maybe be able to have other picnic areas that are less formal. And that would be a great fit.
We do have that one pad that was kind of
Up by the
up in the
oak tree.
northeast corner.
Yeah.
And it's right under the oak tree, right with a lot of mulch. The arborists are really promoting we use more and more mulch to really try to retain the moisture and help the
Right.
nutrients out and so on. But that is not ideal to have
A barbecue right
a
there.
barbecue that has a smaller pad, so that would be kind of a similar problem. We do have 2 of these down in our public works yard from a long time ago.
Yeah, I feel like there was one there in the past, maybe 15 years ago, a barbecue under that oak tree. There was like one of these small
Mm-hmm.
ones that kind of
Right, okay.
fell
Ray, what's the
over.
cost of these? I didn't see a price on here.
They vary, but they kind of go from the 500 to 1,200 type range. The real big ones up to over 1,000.
Over 1,000.
Mhm.
And so again, if you chose to put a couple of these inside, let's call them satellite areas,
Mhm.
you could actually put a 6-foot pad underneath them so that you're removing that mulch factor.
The mulch.
And actually allowing someone who's cooking to be standing on a level surface.
And
Also
that
easier to clean up,
Yeah.
too.
I mean, that's really what we have right now. For these structures too, we have a concrete pad there. And the one that's
Because it extended out already. That was in the plan.
right with a curb over there even on that
Right.
side to help we knew there'd be a lot of
That
mulch
was
coming
part of the
against the
idea.
side.
Right, and you'd be building this on the extended pad that was set up for it.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. And so the size of these, splitting the one
By the restroom.
by the restroom in half would make it approximately 26 inches each. Well,
Yeah.
more than that with the cinder block, or,
2 foot deep for just the grill.
Yeah.
2 foot deep by about 4.5 foot wide. And then it does add nearly 8 inches on each side. So it's
with the
about,
cinder block.
Mhm.
So, and that'll work on the slab? It's
Right.
been- It does fit?
yeah.
I can't remember.
I think we just get them out from under the roof line, and we were debating, I mean, the proposal was to have it on the very east end, kind of
Yeah.
centered off the east
Right.
end. And that is, the big oak out there, now we're more concerned about so many trees are dying off. It's a long way off, it's up
It's tall.
25, 30 foot for the foliage. I think it's okay.
I
We
would-
could move it out towards the front and get it away from there a little bit. It's an
But
option.
but the pad can accommodate the size of the existing ones?
Right.
Okay, that was all I was concerned about, because originally we were talking about something more along this line, so I didn't know if there was enough space.
And that was a thought for the larger one that's over by the playground.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bigger, so we could move it more on the long side, on the south side, and we could put it
Okay.
a little more central. And I don't know, I was talking with Sophocles about this. If that shelter's so much bigger, is there a chance that people will only rent half at a time and they could split the grill kind of thing? That's a possibility. I think your thought was it's unlikely somebody'd want to rent that
We talked
facility.
about that, I
Yeah.
think, during the
They-
planning
it-
was, yeah.
I don't think that would go over well. And again, we don't really have necessarily a fee structure to accommodate that. I mean, we could just split the price, but
Right.
it's really not part of the fee schedule to do that. And I don't necessarily think that people will want to go that route of sharing the big picnic area. When they rent the big picnic area, I think they'll want the whole thing
Right.
because they have a big party.
I know we haven't been able to link up with the possible donor, but in the initial discussions when this came up, was there any talk about what style of barbecue they were willing to donate?
I
That
think
was
it's
supposed to
just
be
what
this kind of
those are.
approach,
It was.
prefabricated. But with the recognition that the costs are in the same range, we had initially talked about maybe going with something like this, but when he heard that we were considering prefabricated, he said, okay, that's fine. And so there was some consideration they might donate a structure almost like this. So that would, I think either one would actually work. If the donor comes back in, I get the feeling
Either way.
they're willing to, donate either one.
Okay.
There
mean,
is that kind of cross, the Santa Fe style is the classic old thing. It does seem a little bit safer for fire.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I can't say my kids have ever had the problem, but it's a little safer.
Oh, I think the fact that you can't go under it
Yeah,
is nice. I think anything you can go under is,
Yeah, if there's a kid maybe playing soccer close by and look back at the ball, and you could, I know I've ran into things like that before, so if it's just kind of standing there, it could happen. It's kind of more of a wall.
Yeah, so, yeah, I think go with the repurposing.
I
okay.
think they are safer, and I do think that people tend to use them more if there was just those single self-standing. I know, like, we've taken our camp out to Soul Park, and we won't use those self-standing. We'll bring our own grill
Right.
out there because they're not very convenient to cook on, honestly, because there's just such a small gap between the cooking
cooks
area and
really
where you-
fast.
where
Yeah.
you put your coals. I mean,
Yep.
it's literally, I mean, I don't know, maybe these are a little bit better. I see one that has a pretty good gap on here. It's between where you might put coals or wood, but
Yeah.
there isn't much room for adjustment.
Right, it's true. If somebody wanted to go small scale, they could bring a little hibachi or their own gas grill or whatever.
But I wonder, refurbishing won't increase the cost
That was
that much? or-
part of the initial quote that I got,
Oh,
was to,
Oh, you had already received quotes
yeah,
on
it was a rough quote, but I was out there with somebody.
is it possible that this is a service type project to do the cinder block?
And we have a few options on it. One is our crew, hesitantly say, can do block. I mean, they did the sink area. We might have a little issue with that donor walkway, but I think we're doing fine with the, that sink area is holding up. And that's almost the exact same thing, right? It was block.
Yeah.
And was finished off with a stucco. So we could, I think one of these had a stucco and one didn't. But, so I think we could do it ourselves. We could actually, So either way,
So, but it could be a service project. It's the kind of project that seems approachable as a service project.
right.
And, or it could
Pretty
be
well
done
qualified, a little
in-house.
crafty, yep.
Okay, I like that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for the small areas, Greg, what were you saying would be used, the half, like taking that one in the picnic area, the largest one closest to the playground area?
The other one, by the restroom.
By the restrooms,
Split
is
that.
splitting that one.
Split that one.
Right.
And then use this half of this larger one in the big area?
Well,
Is
we're,
that what you're saying?
we're talking the whole thing.
The whole thing.
Oh, the whole thing.
Uh-huh. So everything would be
So for the
repurposed
large
that's out there
picnic
right
area, you
now.
would have, still
I
have
think
the
it's
largest
great.
grill.
Okay,
And I really think it looks nicer.
Yeah.
It is.
yeah. Any inclination towards stucco or block?
No stucco.
No stucco, all right. Yeah,
That's my vote.
Yeah.
it's painted,
Not that we're
it's
voting.
not that noticeable. Some people don't like the look of a, block finish. That's
The
just,
cinder block looks too unfinished for them.
some people.
I do like the does it have a concrete cap on top?
Yes,
That's a nice addition.
yeah, the concrete
Other
cap
than-
would be a nice detail, and we'd like to make sure that
So
happens.
in this picture, one is stuccoed and one is not, and the one
Correct.
that's stuccoed is the all cracked and
It's
chipped.
the cracking one, yes.
Right,
It's also stucco kind of can tear your fingers up if you are small, kind of like.
yeah, we could do different finishes to avoid a
Yeah.
rough finish, but,
I don't have a strong opinion.
I just think it's,
Probably the most important feature is that the insides are lined with fire brick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
That would be new.
So that you ensure longevity of the cinder block because it's not fireproof.
it could be the problem, that happened with those, it's hard to tell if it was fire brick or not, but
Yeah.
I was saying, that, yeah, we have quote for fire brick on this, yeah.
Cool.
okay.
All right, great. That's
Thank you.
nice input. Appreciate it. Okay, so we'll go ahead. The big one by the playground goes to the East End Center, and then the one at the restroom gets cut in half and goes to the two shelters.
I like it.
And
Thank you.
and then we decided on, did we decide on stucco or not? I forgot what the final was.
I don't have a strong.
No, I think there
I think
was an
two people were
opinion of no
strongly in
stucco.
favor of cinder block, and I'm.
How about if we match? I'm trying to remember what that. I don't know what we did on the sink out there next to the
Well, as I was
restroom.
wondering, in the
Right.
restroom and all of that, and how it's going to fit into the.
I think that's stucco on the sink.
Yeah, it is stucco on the side.
Yeah. Well, we could do stucco and go smoother finished. It's not too rough, a little easier to clean.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Sure.
It'll be painted. And I guess the paint on this one held up pretty well.
Paint
You'd almost think
it's
it'd get
just
greasy.
The
but-
stucco's cracking, but
Right.
What's easier to maintain from the impacted graffiti?
yeah.
Right.
That's what I'd be looking at.
That's why I said no stucco, just because on the maintenance of it, it's already cracking, but.
It's an old one. I think this has been
It's
on here
old,
for a lot
and
of
if
years.
if it's graffiti and it's painted stucco, I would imagine that would be a little easier to
We-
cover up.
Or-
I think you should try and match to the aesthetic
Yeah,
of the
that's- I agree
bathroom and
with
the
that.
sink and make
Matching
it
the
all
aesthetic.
look
Right.
Yeah.
planned.
Look
Yeah.
Look like we planned it, yeah.
Okay, that sounds like a pretty easy answer.
So I think the answer is we're not weighing in strongly on one or the other, just
Okay.
that it is
Uniform.
aesthetically all kind of matches.
Right. Okay, the inclination will be a concrete cap and the block with stucco. And,
Yeah, like a light, yeah.
but if somehow the project gets expensive or whatever like that, we'll consider using just block with paint. And see, we've had graffiti on the restrooms. We've had to paint them over, not that much, but a couple times now, so.
Okay.
It's easy enough to get rid of the graffiti with that, just painting over.
Well, and you can match the color even if you had to value engineer out the stucco. You could then match the color and use it on the cinder block. Correct?
Right.
Okay, so it could all.
Be painted.
All right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, terrific.
Okay.
I think your next question was. the
Sandbox?
Sandbox. And that one, I did ask for a couple quotes, and promises, I've not got the quotes back yet, so I'll give them another push. I pushed them a couple times, and it's just a small job for most people. I was trying to,
And you're getting
keep on it.
quotes. What are you getting quotes for?
for a metal roof that'll
Like
be
a
very
standing
similar.
seam?
Standing seam metal roof, just very similar to what the shade structures at Sarasate will be like.
That'll look really nice.
Yeah. So I think right now, I've never had a comment from anybody really. I just noticed it and I thought it'd be a good idea.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel like it was a high priority.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was on here just because we were under the impression it was going to be tackled when the art was put in with the crane. So,
And I really planned it at the same time because I
Right.
thought it'd be easier just to pull the roof and do it in a shop. But they said, no, it's easier just to do it out on the site. It's a small job.
right,
So that part, I didn't go for the push with the art. Yeah.
no problem.
And also as kind of a backup back to Sarzati, I don't know if people saw it there, but the trash enclosure is complete.
I saw that.
Yeah, it might be a little taller than you expected.
It's part of my show and tell, Greg. I have a photo.
Oh, you do have, okay.
I have a photo. I'm going to
Okay.
pass it out.
Anyway, and the reason
Maybe
for
I'll
that,
pass it around.
You're stealing Soft's thunder.
No, I'll pass it around now. No, it's good.
and it is tall, and a lot of the old enclosures used to be lower, and you could only open the bin inside a little bit
Yep.
to dispose of trash. But everybody's gone to the full open bin inside, so that's why it's so tall like that. So I was a little bit surprised too. Like, wait, we got to share because why are we going so tall? What's going on? But that is complete now.
As a building.
I think it looks good though.
When you see it, it sure could.
I think we'll all get used to it once it wears in a little bit. It's fine.
I thought you were going to use it to show movies in the summer.
That's right.
Exactly.
And so we're waiting for the concrete curb inside where the bins go to cure up, harden up for a few weeks. And then we'll go ahead and start putting the bins in there, clean that up a little. And I think people saw the frames, a little delay last week with the rains. We didn't want to tear up the lawn too much out there. So we had them hold off. And but the frames are going up pretty quick. They're back at it. You might have
I
seen
got a
those pictures.
photo of that there as well. There's
Okay.
there's the trash enclosure and one of the that's the small one of the small picnic
That's the
areas
small one, yeah.
actually. The framing
Yeah.
of the small picnic area.
Do we know what we're looking at in terms of completion timeline?
In November,
Nice.
this month, I guess, right? Yeah.
Okay.
It'll come together pretty quick here.
Okay.
They are, the frames are pretty well up, the major frame, then the minor frame that holds up the roofing goes up, and then you'll recall it's the tongue and groove wood on the
Right.
bottom side,
Yeah.
and then it's the standing seam metal roof on top. And once they're done with all that, they'll go ahead and place the concrete pad underneath all the buildings and the sidewalk connections. And then this particular contractor has got one of these tunneling or boring rigs, so he's going to bore the conduit. We have to
Nice.
tear up the irrigation and everything else too. So he's going to send in the roots. The roots have been an issue. And by the way, we did shift that primary structure. We had an arborist oversight in the tree line canopies, and the restroom next to the restroom corner had a few major roots out there. I mean, 6-8 inch roots, and so we didn't want to impact those. So we ended up moving the structure about 3 or 4 feet to the east to avoid those, and that worked out pretty well because those are crazy. There's no way these things were built this way at the Soul Park, but I mean these foundations are 3 foot diameter, 8 foot deep for each one of the piers, the columns. So it's just those dang engineers. Overkill. It's ridiculous. I mean,
Never
there's
coming
no way
down.
that's necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's the new earthquake standards.
Exactly. They're never coming down.
All the time, like just small patios.
It's
incredible.
It's not going to shake down or blow down.
Uh-uh.
Yeah. And the wind also, right? The wind, the lift and all of this. It's
I
100
couldn't
mile an hour
believe
design.
how big those hole
Footings.
posts were. I mean,
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
were.
I thought we could thicken up the pad, and they just
the
said no way
holes
it'd
were
work. Yeah.
massive that
Yeah.
they drilled. Yeah.
So, but anyways, it's good. We did work carefully with the good arborist to try to protect those trees the best we can out there. Those are pretty classic oaks, the one at the restroom on the east
Right.
end over there.
Beautiful. Okay, I'm sorry to circle back to plaque donation. With the Civic Association, are you doing one at each site, or how are you doing it?
We were just doing one at the big shelter at the center column, and it'd be at the base of the column, and it'd be kind of a pedestal that points up with a plaque on it.
Okay, okay.
So
Okay.
that's the plan.
So it's just like this far off the ground?
Yeah, it's almost like a pedestal plaque. Yeah, I would say it's a little bit about this size and angled at about not quite 45, but kind of a gentle angle. You see,
So we're not going to trip on it?
it's right at the base of the column,
Okay,
so it should be okay.
okay.
There might be, people have a beer or two, it could be trouble, but that's otherwise, I think. I know there's some thought of maybe trying to put it off to the side, but then it becomes less obvious that it's connected to the shade structure.
Yeah, no, it's hard.
Right. Yeah,
And you
and
don't-
trying to put it on one of the columns, there's that thought, but the columns aren't that
They're
wide,
not that
really.
big.
Not big
Yeah.
enough, yeah.
So then you'll end up with kind of a bulge in it, and you try to protect it, or whatever else. So that's I know we kind of thought it over a few times ourselves. I mean, if we went over behind, like a bigger plaque over by under the tree, but it'd be behind the fence. We'd fenced out the entire large oak tree up between the sidewalks.
Right.
Well, that's interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Not decided today, but okay, that's.
All right, because it's
You
not built
just-
yet, so if
I mean,
people
yeah,
have
I
a
mean,
big
if, you
push
know,
on that,
if
yeah.
you'll- If it looks like it works, it works.
Yeah, it sounds
Right.
fine.
Yeah. Okay, is it on to the next one, or we,
Yeah,
Yeah.
lower restroom.
so the restroom, so we haven't made a ton of progress, though we are making progress. I think people will recall we requested help from the Ojai Civic Association, a donation for the restroom remodeling, and they're interested, is good news. And they're also interested in trying to fix a sewer line issue we have up there in the park. And, but they did want more design effort. So we got, we were trying to get the as-built, but we couldn't find, there's no record of as-built from those restrooms from us or the Ojai Civic, because they donated those in the first place. And then, so we were trying to get an as-built created, and we had a little issue with that, and now those are underway. And those will go to an architect I'm working with. It'll do a concept, and it's a 3 concept, you might recall, right? It was
Right.
the remodel the existing restroom and leave it the same size. There was another approach was add a separate multi-toilet area that would help take care of big events or the Libby
Right.
Bowl events. And then the other option was to wipe the slate clean and put a new, larger restroom in there. So that's the 3 concepts we'll receive fairly soon.
And Lower Libby is lumped in with that.
And Lower Libby was low priority on that, because I think we're going to eat up most of our money up on the top side. And but I know what you were asking was about the partitions.
Right.
So the price on the partitions was, I knew it'd be fairly pricey. The question came up, and it's not too bad. I think we can basically do it as the quick answer here, but it's, yeah, if we demo, really the recommendation was to demo those block walls that are out there. And that works well, I think, for a couple of reasons. If we demo the block walls that are out there, we can put in these partition setups. And if we decide to upgrade that restroom later, putting tile or whatever, it easily comes out and it goes back in.
Gotcha.
So it also kind of if we left the block walls in, it's a little more cozy if somebody wanted to kind of settle in there a little bit, you know. So this is kind of a nice way to make it so you can see underneath the partitions, and it's
Probably easier to clean.
easier to clean and a few
Yeah.
other things. So we're looking at, we'd probably demo the block walls, and we could have these put in. And if we do the upgrade, if we work out with Ojai Civic and we get a nice plan, we want to do tile or something on the floor, and maybe bring it up on the wall or whatever the case is, it's easier to just pull it and place it back in.
So what's the cost?
$7,500.
So that's something we could do.
So we could go ahead and do that.
Soon.
I know the push was for the tennis tournament, right?
Well, our push was for a long time ago.
Just in
but
general.
As soon as possible.
As soon as
Yeah, the-
Push.
ASAP. Right.
Is that's obviously for men, the men's and women's restroom,
Right,
I'm assuming?
both.
Both sides for that.
That's the quote I had. I think that one had, I had to do still a full check. We were just completing the plan that had to make sure it's ADA compliant, because when we
Right.
were doing this work to make sure. So it'll probably be a little bit different. You know how like the last one is just a stub wall coming out? We'll go ahead and put a partition all the way across,
Right.
you know, and it'll block off, make the full access in the ADA that's
You
necessary.
feel like for $7,500, you can tear everything out, patch the floor, do whatever you need to do, and get the new partitions up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So I think that one makes it an easy
With
Project.
doors.
Yes,
with doors.
Yes,
Yes,
with
right.
doors.
So-
Wow.
You got to throw it
And-
out there, I know.
Putting it up.
So-
Right,
so
right. You
by
wanted doors. Yeah.
Tearing out the walls, or
Excellent.
tearing
That's a
out those
$5,000.
walls, do you trigger anything that's gonna cause a problem?
I hope not.
Because if that's the case, and we know we're gonna do something later, is it, my caution is just that I think we wanna see it done as quickly as possible with the least amount of chaos created, knowing that long-term, we're looking to really remodel those.
Right.
And so, I mean, I defer to however is easiest to do it, tearing them out, not tearing them out, so long as it doesn't slow the project down, because we're substantively taking out walls.
Right.
I just want to, I don't want to get, because if all we could do now to make it, get it done quickly, is to just use those walls and put the doors on, I'm fine with that too. Because long-term we'll remodel, so that would be my only concern.
I mean, the lower restrooms are a little lower priority. There's not
Right.
used anywhere near as much. So it probably, if we went to a further upgrade to that restroom and more likely be a tile floor be a first step.
Right.
And we do a few other minor repairs. So it's not a full, it does lock in the layout, but the layout is somewhat locked in anyways, the toilet locations and all that.
You're not moving any of that.
It's a little
You're
bit,
not- You're not going to demo it like we would the uppers anyway.
The upper may see that as
Right,
possible.
exactly.
Depends on these options. It does, I think if we go with tile, it's not, there's a little hurdle there. It's not huge, but when you put the anchor bolts, it shifts just enough that it can be kind of a headache to re-anchor them. But I think we can
It's
handle
okay,
it.
work around it.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know that they don't get the same kind of use that the upper do, but at the same time, there's a lot of programming there.
There's
From
a
a rec standpoint, there's a lot of
Youth
programming.
and adult tennis, there's
And if the bike park goes in,
There's
it'll
daily.
go through the
Daily
roof.
use every day down there. So I think if we're not getting a lot of use, it's partially because of the way they are. So,
Greg, you will get the biggest gold star you ever received from those tennis players.
Yeah.
when they see
That
this.
is true.
Way bigger than playground, is that?
Yeah, bigger than
from them.
from
them,
them,
yes.
from the tennis players anyway.
But
That one's
is-
gone.
But
That was
that's a
last
big-
year.
That's a
From
big
the tennis players, they will think they won't
But
even
it's
know
a
they're in
big
the same
program
place.
for us, and that's
Yeah.
a big size program for us. So I just want to come back to, it may not get the same kind of use that the upper one does due to big events, but on a daily, every day, there are people there.
It is a specific demographic that's down there.
But it's
It
the
is
same
tennis
conversation
players.
if Bike Park goes in, if Libby starts seeing the increased use, the bowl, and people start parking there, you're going to have the increased use, so
Right.
Good. I'm excited.
that's great.
Okay. All right, so just with the recognition, it locks it in, but I think it's locked in anyways. I mean, the layout and all that, so.
Good,
just
okay.
That's great.
So if we're all good with that, I'll move
Definitely.
ahead with that
That's a great plan.
partition install.
Thank you.
Okay.
We'll stop asking then.
The rec department will come down with a big sledgehammer and help out if you want, help
Yeah.
on demo.
I guess one of them was vandalized and knocked over, so they're kind of a thin block. It's,
One's down, okay.
Well, one was down and it was rebuilt
Couple
years
to
ago.
go.
Yes. It's,
Demo's always fun, so. That's the end of the Public Works report on the, I do have one, though, based off of, same question I asked Sunday, in terms of the lights and total project timeline. Do you have any ballpark, or off the top of your head, do you remember what that would have been?
I know they were working with Bill Ulrich, and he asked for a meeting. He just sent an email today. He was trying to push a meeting, trying to get something going next week.
Okay, but I mean,
So-
from beginning of construction till end, not approvals. I mean,
I think they're using the same company that we were working with before, and we did a full light study, and the foot candle determination, all that took quite a while to work out, but it was worked out. So I think they're
Yeah.
working with that same outfit, and they're still proposing the LED lights and all that.
Right.
So based on that, it should be, that plan meets the light requirements that we were supposed to back at the time. So I think, the planning hoops are overcome.
Right.
And I think all the other planning hoops, I think even planning and council and everything. So if that's all covered, and they get the plan, and it's great they've got that full funding they're talking with, because there could be a little extra effort, trying to think of whatever engineering they have to do for the site work, because I know even Bill Ulrich went out there and he saw the stub-ups for some of the locations, but not all, so
Huh.
it might be additional site work or whatever, so that'd be a great contingency fund that we might need with the funding the city was planning. So,
But,
all right, so timing, that was a question, right? So if
I'm
they
just
get,
curious.
so if they get 2, 3, yeah, I don't think it's gonna be in there for this summer, this winter, I'm sorry, it won't happen that quick. I think it's gonna take a few months to get it, and I don't know if we're gonna try to work out something where they try to donate it. It can be very tricky on an existing facility, and try to deal with it that way. If we can be creative and make that happen, that helps quite a
You
bit
mean
too.
that they would it's their project that they would then turn over?
Yeah, if there's any way we can make that work, that can be helpful, but we'll have to take a look at that, a few questions. So I think more than likely it's going to take a 2-3 month period to get it rolling, because depending if we have to bid it or they bid it. And then if they don't, they've got a lot more freedom on how they select a contractor and all that. And then it would take I think it's a fairly simple install. I mean, some contractor will do that in a
So
month.
the actual getting it
Okay.
done is straightforward and fairly quick. It's the getting to that.
Yep, assuming those conduits are really out there and they're open as expected and all that, yep.
Okay.
So that's what I believe happened during the skate park bill. So I think anyways, we're talking 6 months is probably a reasonable estimate. So right by the prime time of summer when the
Right.
days are longest and you barely need it, right? So that's about right.
But, okay, just curious. All right, thanks. Anybody have any other questions about the Public Works update? No? Okay. Moving on, approval of minutes. No minutes still?
That's good.
No, but we are 3 months behind.
Yes.
but I've been informed that we have a plan now, and hopefully, by the December, PSC meeting, we will have all minutes prepared.
Okay.
That is the hope and the plan.
Okay, thanks. Discussion items. 8A is the CIP review. Review the adopted 5-year CIP with emphasis on prioritizing projects and identifying funding sources.
Did you want me to handle that?
You guys, yeah, if you want to start with it, Greg, you should all have a copy of that. I don't happen to have one, but you should all have a copy of it. Because you have an extra. So if you want to open it, or I can. So I think, Greg, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, about what you wanted from the last meeting was what's happening in this current fiscal year and maybe in the next fiscal year. Will those projects in fact happen, and do we have the funding source for those projects in the next 2 fiscal years? So maybe that's, or the sources of that funding.
That's one of the questions, but it's interesting to go back to the question that came up about the lighting and the dollar amount that's in here.
Mm-hmm.
We historically, and this is a while ago, used to get a report that showed us a project cost and then the funding sources that were going to meet that project cost. And I'd love to see something like that, because like with the lights, if you were to look at this, it looks like the city is paying the full amount for the lights. Because what's in the CIP, right, is the total cost of the project.
Yes.
But that doesn't inform our process to not understand where the money's coming from. Because if you look like that, if I were to read this just coming on off the street, I would think, oh, the city's going to spend $65,000 on lights. So there used to be a better tool for us to use that included which funding sources. It also, we were using it a lot because of CDBG money, but it identified every source that was coming into each project to make up the budget. So I think this is helpful, but not that helpful in some ways for us, because we didn't budget $65,000. That's just total project costs.
Right.
And
I mean, that part, I seems like I probably provided most of that verbally. It's a little tricky. It's in the CIP, in the adopted budget, there's a breakout that has Fund 31, other fund.
Which funds are coming, yes.
But even that,
we
like,
have to get that.
you know, a good example is when you're talking about the lights, it shows $65,000 budgeted, right?
Right.
But if you go to the more detailed portion of the capital improvement program, it shows that $65,000 is from other funds, not from Fund 31.
But we don't get that. And
Yeah.
that's part of what we were talking about at our last meeting, is we need that information to better understand. We have a hand in the audience.
I'm thinking, I think what you're asking for is on the last page, you've got a revenue source, right?
Right.
That shows where your funding is going through for fiscal year, for each fiscal year.
I think it's part of it, but I think what Sage is also talking about, or Commissioner Intner, is that, yeah, for each project, and it's fairly
do that.
it's fairly complicated. Like, let me hit 65,000. If you go to the detail on the capital improvement program, it'll show 65,000 from other funds, because the rec fund
Right.
is considered another fund. So the way that really works out is, I think it was, well, I've got the detail, but even it's a big spreadsheet. It's very hard. I even had to do a special print just to get it out here.
I think what I'm looking for is a tool that we'll use year after year that we could establish now, that is a spreadsheet that shows the project cost and then basically lays out the funds that the money's coming from. And that we would have that for the year that we're in and the next year of the proposed budget, so that we would understand where the funds are coming from. Because I think otherwise, we don't have definitive answers in front of us when we want to talk about this. It says 65,000, that's the project cost. I know that.
Right.
But it doesn't say that. And then it doesn't say where the money's coming from. And it's somewhere else that says what we were allocating toward it. But it's not consistent, because some things we have in here, we have what we're going to spend on it.
Yeah, and I think.
And so we're inconsistent too on whether it's a full project cost. Go ahead, Randy.
No, I'm agreeing with you. What's interesting to me too is when I sat here and then I heard that there was additional funds made available through skate park, then I said, well, there's $65,000 that we now can reallocate.
But that's
to
not,
another
yes.
Yeah, no,
source. And
no.
the reality is we can't.
Right.
It's because we never had that.
Right, and that's what you're asking for, is if you knew what the funding source was, and if there was a joint partnership, and let's say the skate park partner came up with more funding, they could throw that in, and then now you might.
We free up something to push somewhere else. And that is exactly what we're trying to see, that big picture. And we don't have a way yet to see that
Right.
big picture because we don't have the tools yet.
So let me cut
But
to the
aren't
chase
those-
before you go.
Aren't those total project costs that we do see?
It is, but let me just mention, yeah, this is total project cost.
They are,
And then we
sort
can
of.
provide this additional stuff, but it gets complicated because there's a lot of other sources that we have. We have all kinds of grant programs and special funds in the city.
I understand.
So, but it'll just be, roughly thinking it'll be the same header, a recap, and then you'll have another page with a quick breakout, just how much is Fund 31, and then you'll have another page which is the detail per fiscal year.
What we used to have, Randy, you were with us when we had this, so you remember this. We had a spreadsheet that had it all in one spreadsheet. Instead of having a separate page, because we don't need a separate page, we just need a spreadsheet that feeds in the total project cost and all of the revenue sources.
Yeah, I think I provided that, and I think that was, yeah. So anyways,
For our
I'm
needs.
glad to do it. Yep.
Yeah, because that,
Here's another question. Greg, do you have?
Randy, sorry, Randy, to
The ra-
interrupt. Would you?
microphone.
Yeah.
I thought my voice-
No one will be able to hear you.
I would thought my voice would carry, but I guess what I'm saying is you have to track these funding sources anyway.
Mhm.
So it might be a redundancy for you to have to provide that to the Parks Commission, but your staff is already putting these numbers together on some form of a spreadsheet. Maybe it's just asking them to say, how can we do this so that the Parks Commission can get a copy of it and let them come up with an idea as how to do it quicker for you. Because I think your
I think
staff's
we got
smart
it.
enough to
Yep.
do that.
I think we're good.
so one sheet, yeah,
Yeah.
that has the project cost, the funding sources, and that would help. And then you'll help, I remember back then we had CDBG, a couple of different funds that it was coming out of, so it was a little bit different, but,
Right.
and then we would understand.
Okay, we'll do that.
Yeah, and then because I think at that point, we can have the informed discussions that we're trying to what are missing pieces.
Yeah.
Excuse me 1 second. I'll go make a copy because I have that information right here.
No problem.
Oh, thanks.
Because I know on the CIP, for instance, on the bike park proposal, the 20 grand that's in there, the $20,000, that is not the total project cost.
No, then that's the one I was thinking of too.
And that's,
It's not? Oh, well,
No.
Or isn't it close
no,
to that?
it's
The bike
30.
park?
It's 30. I pulled up the old bike park proposal and it's 30.
Well,
And
it-
their
but-
proposal to us was that the city's portion was $20,000, which we did not agree to either.
But
So
wasn't
that
that,
20 number-
wasn't
that 20
10 of
number's wrong
that
all
30 in kind? Do you put that on there if
It
it's
is,
just
but
in
it is
kind?
in kind, but on
If you're
their
trying to be con-
total project cost is $30,000, and we agreed to a third of that.
So,
Whether it's,
so again, this is what having it broken out does for you.
exactly.
Is it
That's
clearly designates who's providing what fund.
And what it adds up to.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe you found the one example of it in there that doesn't show total
I did, and it just
project
happens to
costs.
be though a rather,
It's one we're very-
prominent project
well,
this
We're very
year.
familiar with it right now. so,
right, it's
yeah.
on the tip of our tongues every month,
Yeah,
so.
I can't speak to all the other,
Well, it's,
other projects that aren't park-related, but you have identified the one that isn't, but a lot of them are. I mean, most.
well, no, we're not, it's not a criticism.
No, I know.
It's just a clarification. It's just
Yeah.
being consistent and having an understanding of what each of these columns means.
Yeah,
And I think the projects that it's going to be most confusing on are ones that are partnerships. It's not going to be the
Of
ones where
course.
we're replacing a roof, and it's not going to be the ones where we're,
No,
have a
it's-
line item for the gym floor.
no, exactly.
Right. We're, yeah, of course, on shared
Thanks,
projects.
Greg.
Yep.
Not
Do you-
those that are city-funded.
Do you want me to run through the sheet I'm passing out right now? Has got the breakdown.
Yeah.
And so we had to go through and just trim out the columns to make this. There's a lot of columns for each fiscal year
Right.
of all the different
Right.
projects we have in this city. You know, you can think of road grants and pedestrian grants and so on like that. So we just shrunk down so the columns you're interested in that are applicable to this section of the capital improvement program. So for instance, if you look under the highlight I made for 16-17 for $44,000 for picnic tables, you can see under 16-17, you see the second grouping over there. It's under AB 939.
Right.
And now if you go to the next project, in 16-17, there's 15,000 for the fountain area trip hazard. And that one is in the left column, it's in Fund 31, so it doesn't apply to other funding sources. And then you can see for the remodeling of the restrooms at Libby Park, that's 125 and 75. So that's a breakout, and you can see other donations is from 125, 75.
OCA.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right, it's Ojai Civic. I was having a little confusion on my own. So then the next one at 60, okay, for this fiscal year, we'll stick with 20,000 for the bike park, right? So that's got the rec department fund for that.
Which is not true, by the
Well,
way.
you were out of the room when we were talking about that. The total project cost on that was the one, we were both, Adam and I were thinking of the same one. Total project cost on that is 30,000.
Okay,
So that's one where we represented a number of what we were, the assumed participation instead of total project cost.
okay. I think there's an assumption back from April or so,
Okay.
you know? So it's about 30,000 now, and I don't know if they're coming up with some of the funds. Right now, it shows
And
rec
some of
department.
that,
all
some
of
of that they're proposing in-kind donation
Right.
of labor, services, or something else. But still, it's the total project cost is what we're going to reflect in that column, right?
It'll be up in that wrap-up, and then I don't know if, because right now it's all rec department, or that you're saying there might be 10,000 donation?
Oh, no, what I'm saying is that in the CIP under the year, what should be represented there is total cost.
Right.
Which would be whatever we're gonna pay, whatever they're gonna pay, and if we can, the cost that it would be, even if they're getting in-kind services, we still need to reflect the cost if they didn't get in-kind services, right?
Right.
Because that's a total project cost.
Exactly.
Okay,
So for instance,
So that might revise to 30 is what you're hearing.
yeah.
Yeah,
Just
okay.
in that column. And then the other part is too, I think, the rec department or the commission recommendation, go ahead, Adam.
yeah, we recommended a third from the rec fund
A third.
of the total project.
Oh, really? 20
Yeah.
donation, 10?
I think it was a third of the total project cost not to exceed, and I don't remember that number,
Yeah.
was our actual recommendation.
Okay,
Yeah.
1/3 rec.
Around 13 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right
it was
around there.
somewhere around
Like
13 was like
13,000,
not to exceed, but,
15.
That'd be in the minutes.
yeah, it would be in the minutes, but that,
You'd have to go back to those.
Yeah, I
yeah,
think we have
We
those,
have-
though.
We have those minutes, yeah.
we do.
So if you can get us to it, we'll revise it, because I think they're doing a mid-year revision to the budget.
So again, it looks like, if I read this correctly, you would have on here, you'd have on 16-17, bike path funding would be 30,000. And then as you carry it over into the actual funding revenue source, you would have 10,000 recreation and parks funding, and then you'd have 20,000 in OCA/other donations.
That would be my
That's
understanding
where
as well.
that way your 30 and your 30 are matching up.
Exactly.
Yep.
You're accounting for 10,000 revenue coming from the recreation and parks, 30 from a kind donation.
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly. So if we go further down, you see the Boyd roof, for instance, is all in the Fund 31. And for your information, we're probably going to kick that forward. We've been checking the roof, and seems like we're going to hang in. The more we bulk together, just a lot easier for getting a bid package together and getting bids and managing it and so on. So we're
Okay.
going to. And do you see that?
I don't see where the funding source is on that one.
Yeah, because it's in the left column initially.
Oh, got it, Fund
Yeah.
31, sorry, okay.
I know, it's a little
Thank
tricky.
you.
It's even more, and what happens, just for your information, is over on the right, all these different funding sources get rolled up.
Right,
And that's what Councilman Haney was looking at, is it all rolls up and it shows up for a full recap, a summary, you know, how much money AB 939 are we using this year, how much from other sources and so on, how many grants, big grants and so on. So, going down to Boyd Center Shade, that's 5,000. If you look at the right, that's Rec Department Fund. And if you do the picnic area canopy and pad, you can see the 342, that one's a little trickier, for instance, right? It's AB 939 with Rec Department, with Ojai Civic Association, and then the CDBG. All adds up to 342. And then you've got the trash enclosure, that was 15, and that was all coming from Rec Department. That's got field number 1 light poles. The Ojai Civic Association indicated an interest in helping with that, so we haven't secured that yet, but that was half OCA and half Fund 31. And then we've got the outdoor, what have I got there? Workout area shade, so that was that small shade structure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little confused right now a little bit, because that,
Yeah, I'm not sure if that might be for the.
The CrossFit.
The CrossFit area.
oh, I see.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
exactly what
I
it
mean,
is.
they have their makeshift model out there right
Huh?
now. or
Oh,
their
I
shade
might, yeah, I
sets.
might have forgotten about, were you planning to do a separate cloth shade and provide it to them, or they've already got one that's working good enough?
The-
it was to come up with something more permanent.
Yeah,
I see
something.
the idea was to come up with one and provide it for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll keep that in mind.
But not a super engineered situation.
Right.
For $1,500.
Not the Libby Bowl, right?
No.
The Libby Bowl was
We're looking
quite
for,
a project.
we're looking-
Yeah, right.
We're looking for functional shade.
Yeah. All right. So I'll keep that in mind because I was actually focused on trying to get the Boyd one going before next summer.
I
But
think
we'll
both,
do that
yeah.
at the same time. Sounds like it requires a few, well, they must have something out there. I don't know if they already put post in.
They
or
have
not.
a,
They have.
It's not great.
You'll have
You-
to check
yeah.
it out. It's just this not PVC pipe, but galvanized
Mm-hmm.
poles.
Yeah.
Going off of the existing chain link fence that's out there.
I see.
And then they've got a few shade, cheaper shade sails that they've just tied on them.
Right.
their own.
Okay.
It's
If we put
somewhat
up post, it
it's
becomes a
somewhat
little bit more
effective.
significant, but whatever.
but
Okay.
maybe you could work, maybe we could work through how to take what they've got and improve it a little. I don't know. I think go out there and take a look and see what you think.
Right. Yeah.
And then the one in the courtyard,
That's easy. We have a structure there to tie it into.
yes, and that one, as soon as we can do it, and certainly before summer, is certainly a priority because we know we don't have enough classroom space, and
Right.
that would
Right.
allow for more space.
And I guess I guess that's the two-part question, if those projects, they are slated for this fiscal year, if they're
Yeah.
Yep.
in fact going to happen, or.
They'll happen, but they'd just be, we'd be waiting for end of spring.
Mm-hmm.
No point putting them out for the rain and
Right.
getting them out early, yeah.
I think we should put them out and hope it rains.
I think we're close to the bottom would be the new, that's the daily park sign and table.
Which is that AB 939 again.
Right. I guess that was kind of low on the priority list, but it's there. And then we have the skate park lights at $65,000. So you can see over the right, the way that breaks out was assumed $25,000 rec department and $40,000 from other donations. So that's the budget for it. And
So, and if
the
they
breakout.
have the 60,000, yeah,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
that's great.
So if they have the 60, then you have, 15,000.
You know how these projects go throughout the CIP, some are high, some are low.
Right.
Of course.
And so,
But that's, if you're looking at projects and adding, and that's a place where there might be some flexibility to pick out another one.
mhm.
This was the chart you were talking about.
This is.
This is
the-
it.
The chart, and I actually, if I could have it just the way I wanted it.
Not good enough, huh?
I know why Fund 31 is over here, because this is planning for general fund spending in the CIP and the basic part here.
Right.
But what I would love to see is the project cost and then all the breakout to the right of it. That would be, from my perspective, the total project cost in one column and then Fund 31 and all the other funds
Right.
next to it.
Yeah.
And just for laymen like us who aren't used to looking at all this, that would make the most sense to, across the page as a spreadsheet.
Right, and this was a quickie that I tried to
Yeah.
get together,
Yeah.
but it's, you can see, it's basically taking the sheet that you already had, and
Yeah.
it just gets, let's
is
use
good,
an extra
though.
large sheet of
This
paper.
gives us a lot more info.
Yeah, so if
Yeah.
we can get that on, if we could get that
But you're saying
on
if you
one
could get it on
sheet.
one sheet, that's,
That's what we had for a while, it was a while ago. Did you do, you might have done it, I don't
I think so,
remember.
we started the program, yeah, but,
Yeah, and it was great because we could then understand the funding mechanisms for each project.
well, keep in mind that if we just do one fiscal year, it's doable. This one's got a few
Yeah,
fiscal years.
exactly.
So if you're okay with one fiscal year, everything collapses.
I think for the purposes of our active fiscal year, and then if we're in the stages of trying to plan,
Mm-hmm.
the planning one would be good too. So 2 would be ideal.
Oh, 2 fiscal years, yeah, the
Yes.
existing fiscal year next.
Where
Okay.
we're operating and where we're going.
Right, that's usually our main focus as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think beyond that, if you have them identified, it would be great to know for those that we have them identified what the assumptions are,
Right,
but,
And then the outdoor basketball court, you could almost change that to multi-use court, and that
yeah.
cost is going to change. It's gonna be a lot higher than 12.5.
Well,
these
that's not what's in
multi-use
here.
courts.
What's in here is 50 right?
Where do you see that? I'm sorry.
over,
If you add up all the,
if you add up all of the
Oh.
line items, you're at 50,000.
Oh, sorry, right.
yeah,
That's right. Correct. And that might still be a little short.
that might
but-
get us one.
Yeah,
One, yeah.
Yeah.
maybe, yeah.
Greg, can I ask a question? The Ojai Civic Association,
Is that all listed as other?
you can see are one of the biggest donators of funds. Do we ever, how do we say thank you to that association?
primarily, we send a nice letter. I would say that secondarily, primarily it's the plaque at the facility.
I was just, yeah.
So,
I
for
wasn't
instance, when they
sure.
upgrade the Libby fountain, there's a plaque right there. And when yeah, okay.
I was just wondering, I don't know how we say thank you.
But we definitely send a letter and a plaque, and there's really, they don't have any formal meetings we can go to and make a presentation or anything.
I sure
that-
would like to see us bring them to city council and do a thank you at council. I mean, they're doing a tremendous amount of service to the community, donating money
Right.
like this.
They're also a very low-profile organization where they,
That's for sure.
up to this point, yeah, they've not been interested in any such thing when I've talked to them, but we certainly could offer it, yeah. Mhm.
I have a question. Any more questions about the spreadsheets of the funding or?
I'm good for now.
Well, one of the questions I have is just regarding timeline, like the, some of the stuff that's slated for 16, 17. Is everything on this list that's slated for 16, 17 probable? For instance, the light poles and I mean, it looks like everything we're kind of ticking off the boxes as we go. You know, the picnic area, the trash enclosure, the workout shade structures we talked about.
Right, well, I
How
mentioned
are we
the,
doing overall?
okay, yeah, and the roof, I mentioned I'm gonna move it forward. We've just done some minor patching we had to do
Right.
last year, so it seemed like it's holding up, and those projects are still a little more work. And we've got a lot of things going on, so yeah, we're gonna kick it together next year. So I don't think that has an effect on most of the things you're looking for. Assume there's no leaks over there. And, so I think so I guess going down the list is the easiest way to go, right? The recap list that, kind of lost on my sheet, but, so running down the list, the picnic table, trash cans are all done.
Yep.
So that's complete. The fountain area trip hazard is partially done. The significant ones are done. But we were planning to continue, but the priority ones are done. The remodeling the restrooms, I already gave you the update on that.
Mhm.
So to get it done this fiscal year is possible. We'll see. Next summer is likely.
Okay.
hmm And then, and it depends on where that grows, right? With the increased use of the Libby Bowl,
Right.
that might be a push to try to increase the amount of restrooms and all that, and it could have a higher budget. So that one's kind of open-ended.
Of course.
But we're making progress, I guess I should say. The bike park is dependent on the donations there. The roof already mentioned. The shade definitely will happen. The picnic area and canopy and pad will definitely finish within about a month. And the trash enclosure is done. The Field 1 light poles is lower priority. That has a couple hoops we have to jump on that, to get approvals and plans and donations secured and all that.
Okay.
It's one that I've noticed. I haven't really had other people mention it much. I've never been able to get an analysis done on that, to do a wood analysis on the whole pole. It's so expensive, it's not worth doing.
Oh, okay.
Right.
To see what kind of deterioration is up in the upper poles and all that.
Mhm.
So, and go ahead.
Wait, can I interject? If you're gonna did you say you have to do a light study on that field light poles? You had to do a light study on that?
Well, the original intention was to replace, and we checked in LED, and there was not LEDs, but the LEDs keep improving and getting better. So
Right.
every year we delay, we're closer. But right now they're not supported to put LED lights out there. But the question of shading is in there as well. We were planning to do that with the reflectors built into the side of the lights and so on.
I was just wondering if you were gonna do that, if you had the opportunity at that point in time to actually do a light study on the basketball court. Because again,
the
it
same
just seems
time.
like if you kill two birds with one stone, if you're studying one aspect of the park for lighting, what does it take to go a couple hundred yards down the road and take a look at another? Because again, the basketball court is great for the daytime, but I imagine, again, at 4 o'clock, this time of year, it'd be great to have a lighted basketball court, so.
And the LEDs aren't a viable option at this time.
The technology for real high dispersal like that
They're not there.
There
is
you go.
not supposed to be good, along with the reliability.
Okay, so basically having that few poles, you can't do LEDs.
Right.
LEDs have to have a lot more poles to accomplish the same.
They had it up there, but it was a question about the reliability, and it becomes quite a large bank, and it had a few different issues where nobody would recommend those to us.
Okay.
So even though the street light is happening all over the place, right?
With
We've already-
LEDs.
We've already got them at the Y,
Yeah.
Right.
And we're in the hot list for SCE to do the whole city.
That's what's, and there's incentivization on that too right now, isn't there?
We're in a kind of unique situation because they're owned by SCE. We pay the operations and maintenance of it. And so they've got a special program, though, where they finally brought the tariff down. So it's actually a cheaper tariff to have them put in LED lights, and it'll bring down our monthly costs that we have. But there was the initial lights that came out. It's nice not to be the first people out because a lot of people complain of the brightness of them. It's a little bit like if you look at Chevron, it's a very white, bright light.
The color value.
It's a different color, yeah.
So now in the standard street lights, they've come out with a light that's a bit yellower.
Right.
And a lot of people prefer that. It's a little gentler on the eyes, you know.
So my question the reason I asked about the updates and specifically the field pole lights, if we're gonna wait and keep pushing that a little bit due to technology and various factors, do we want to push up the outdoor basketball court? If we're gonna push off the lights a year or two, what if we just flopped it?
My initial reaction would be is that I would
we not
assume you have to
waiting
get
that
the master plan approved first to make sure
Right.
everybody's in agreement and where it goes and what the plan is.
Of course.
I'm not sure where that's at.
It's close.
Yep. So if that's approved soon, you could, well, I'm concerned with the safety though, so I hate to lose the money, but
Of course.
it's also,
And I'm with you. I mean, I've been out there playing softball at night, and I would like nothing more than better lights. I will say that.
Oh, but this is just poles though. This
Yeah,
isn't
it's
lights.
just the safety.
Poles
of
and
the
lights.
poles.
It's poles and lights.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I thought we were just replacing
it was
poles.
metal poles with new fixtures.
Oh,
up
man,
top.
then I hope we hold off, because it would just be a shame to put in non-LED lights at this point, knowing the cost savings of an LED light.
I don't want to raise the concern too much, but they're old wood poles, and I just assume.
I understand the
Have 'em
poles.
marked up,
I thought
yeah.
I thought we were mostly talking about the poles, and
Yeah,
I
but-
absolutely appreciate the concern on that front, but no one is gonna, in the near future, put in anything but LEDs.
Yeah,
It's
but
just the reality
but
with the cost savings.
But those LEDs are not indicated to provide the same kind of lighting as these
And we're
metal
certain that's-
halide lights.
When was that done?
I'll check on that option about just a pole replacement and try to use the existing fixtures.
I just, it seems, and when did they last tell us that there wasn't an LED option? How long ago was that? Was that this year?
Within the past year.
Past year? Okay.
Hmm.
I don't know. That technology has come so far so quickly. It seems like a shame. to
That was,
put
you know,
in-
like this company they're using at the skate park, the Musco.
Yeah, they were the
They're
ones
kind of the
making
well-known, and
that.
they're not recommending them in the other companies.
Okay.
If
Not yet.
the project though is to replace the poles, to accommodate LEDs, could you put in more poles? Would that be an option?
Well,
Break up your fields, though, with
yeah,
poles in the
I
middle.
mean, that becomes like a whole another light study and all that, yeah. But the interesting idea is maybe just move out the wood and put the steel in and try to use the same fixtures as a possibility, and then sit on it for a few years. And that avoids the whole light study as well and everything.
Yes, and then that was why I was trying to figure, I was trying to grasp why we were having a light study, but now I get it.
Yeah.
But if we could just replace the pole, and the fixtures are still functional.
I don't think there's a complaint with the overall lighting on the fields, right? It's pretty good.
No, I mean, some of the other stanchions aren't, at least on field two, aren't quite high enough, but and the lighting on them, the back corner of the fields is a little
Could be
weak.
better.
Could be better, but not the lights we're talking about. There's no complaints about field one and the lights we're talking about, although on field one, in right field, it's a little dark in the corner.
Yeah.
But that doesn't have anything to do with the ones, with the poles you want we're considering replacing.
I'll check into that option
yeah.
anyways, yeah. See if we can do
But
it.
it just sounds like we need to do a study to see if the poles need to be replaced, and if we do need to replace them, right, we want to do probably metal.
Right, we're definitely doing metal.
Metal.
I think we've decided the poles have to be replaced, yeah.
Well, okay, and yet another question, and when I don't have an answer, if and when you move to LED, which may never be a possibility, maybe that isn't something that they functionally can handle, they're lower, or they have to be that high to get?
I think most people's goal is to have as few poles as you can and have
As low
high
as-
lights that disperse better.
Source better, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's part of the problem with field two lights. They're not high enough.
Yeah.
They need to be higher.
So at some point, we need to look at all of the
LED
lights,
needs to
but
have
maybe not
lower, I
right now.
think. Yes.
So going back,
So what's the pole cost?
If we are gonna push that project, and Sarasota master plan comes before council and they approve it, which I hope they do, then, but if we are gonna push the light project, I would want to swap the light poles for the basketball court, considering we've sat on that project for three years now, something like that. So
And this would be the basketball court without the lighting, right?
This would be.
That's how it's
This would
proposed
be
right
the
now.
multi-purpose sports court.
yes, let's call it whatever we want to title it, but yes, without lights currently as it's slated.
This is where it's football and, is that what it's called?
Futsal.
Yeah, futsal.
Futsal
It would
and,
be
Close enough.
a multi-purpose sport
yeah,
court.
okay. So, and you guys do get feedback that that works to be a multi-purpose?
Yes.
Weren't you checking with a consultant? Yeah, I see.
I think that what we came up with is that you could make it an all futsal court, or you can make it a multi-purpose court. And there's room for both of those. But I think what the commission is in favor of doing, what we always were setting out to do, was a multi-purpose
Uh-huh.
sports court.
Because initially, we wanted a basketball court, not a
Exactly.
futsal court.
And then I know one of the problems with, like, the pads we just put in is the trees. If we're in the drip line of the trees, protected trees, and we want to be careful of the trees anyways, so I forget that location have had major tree issues.
Yeah,
Where the Quonset
in the
is.
last, where the Quonset hut is, and we.
Right where that huge Valley Oak is,
Well,
like
that
one
whole
of the
area
biggest
where
in
the
the city.
dirt, where the dirt is and the.
The back, that parking lot.
Unused area.
Okay.
Yeah, it
If
is.
it's out of the
tight-
drip line, I think it's really easy, but if it's in the drip
It is tight
line.
there, Greg. We talked about it in the last commission meeting about it. Could we realistically get two courts out there?
Yeah.
And that's an engineer's.
It would be a little tight.
Those are questions to be asked.
Yeah.
But
would
it seems
have
like
to be
essentially it's a big concrete pad
Yes.
with striping on it,
Pretty
right?
much.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a pretty easy project if we have a design, and if it's not complicated by moving other structures or
Right.
tree impacts and that kind of thing.
It's
So they're all doable,
So
but it just
about
complicates
the
a little bit.
size of those courts. Well, what it will
Yeah.
come down to too is
Right.
what size are we gonna go?
But we can look at that as we get going.
So we've got a whole lot of other
Plan gets
projects which are
approved.
in the pipeline, and it's hard to get them all done. So we always bite a little bigger than we know we can.
Right.
But it looks like
swallow,
we're
but-
doing pretty good
On yours in particular, yeah.
on ours, I would
Mhm.
say, yeah.
Yeah. Rex priority, number one.
Exactly. There we go. Okay, so, all right, I guess we'll wait. In regards to the polls and the basketball court, we'll wait until it's approved by council, and then we can tackle that.
Right. Sounds good.
See how long it takes for that. All right. Does anybody else have any questions, concerns, opinions regarding the 5-year CIP right now? No? No? Thank you for this, Greg,
All right.
for the
Details, what you're really
the
looking for.
revenue
Yeah.
sources. Yeah, it's
I see.
huge. I think we have, at a later date, coming back with you and planning next year's.
Right.
So,
It's not till April.
Like
Doesn't
April,
mean-
I
Doesn't
think,
mean
but-
it won't be
But
coming.
I know you want to get
we'll
ahead
see you
of it.
before then, I'm sure, but
Right.
I just mean, I know that's the next big chunk of this is planning the following year, so.
It seems like last year, the process you went through was Steve had a goal setting. Just
Yeah.
remember you picked out and spent a couple meetings at least setting capital improvement goals around now,
Yeah.
really, November, December.
And we actually have a list.
We do, and I think it'll help us starting earlier, having more conversations with you about this stuff. That way, the list matched up really well, our list to your list this year, which was great.
Right,
So I think if we keep that momentum going in years coming, it'll be a lot more beneficial for everybody.
Okay, I appreciate it. I haven't seen this one, so that's good to,
Wait,
or maybe this is the same
It's our
project.
show and tell.
That's the
That-
wish
right.
list. That's,
this is where we needed a spreadsheet that showed our PRC version of what we were looking for.
Our wish list
matched with the
versus-
CIP.
Okay,
Exactly.
but it's the same as the CIP. There's not other items on here.
There are other items on here that sometimes that are on ours but aren't on your CIP.
Okay,
This particular year, though, matched up very well.
Exactly.
Without even coming together, they just,
It was-
you'd heard what we were talking about, and it had gone back and forth, and so.
I guess I heard about that just to remind you. I mean, I was involved in the when you went through the priorities and, and all that. So we were. I think that's what our opinion was. We got everything you asked for on the CIP. So
Yeah,
we
it
didn't
was
have
great.
any
No, it's
objections on it.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think someone threw a community pool on that.
Somebody did.
But there's no date, it's unassigned.
Yeah, not yet at least. We're still working on that.
And Sarzodi Playground is still on there,
That's still on there as well.
Right.
because that one's very important.
Unfortunately, we lost that CDBG money, but hopefully we can get other money.
I know. But
But
that's
it
one
is-
of the reasons I wanted to know too, where the assumptions are coming from.
But that's
Right.
also maybe how that integrates in with the master plan too, the playground, the Sarasota playground.
Well, whatever we do, if, once the plan is approved, would be pulled from that.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, that funding source is gone, but
Right.
the city hopefully will hang in there with the pretty good revenues, which is really what helped out a lot here. The Fund 31 is what paid
Right.
for a lot of all this work, you know. And so,
And
if
then-
the Ojai Civic, they sounded more interested in Sarzati when we brought up Libby, because we did request funding on that, but they were more interested in Sarzati. So there's a decent chance that'll happen.
Which I think is great, and I'm hoping that council will continue to, as we budget at recreation, allow for those funds that are left over at the end of each budgeting period to keep applying those to CIP. And if we change the budgeting process and those go away, I'm hoping that council will be ready to at least add to the rec department fund an equivalent type of money each year to work with.
And I think that previously they were allocating 50,000 out of the CIP to rec department. And then I think
Right.
the surplus was projected at 30,000, and that's debated or whatever, but it seemed like that was occurring, 50 plus 30.
You're
So
right.
it was 80 per year, which
Yes.
adds up.
And I
after
think
years.
that it looks to me, from what I've seen, that that's changing, and that looks like we might be budgeting a little differently. So the surplus isn't going to be there because of the way we're budgeting. I don't fully understand that, but what I would love to see from council is that even if we aren't getting it there, that we can keep that number about the same, one way or the other, wherever the money comes from.
Right.
Is what I would like to see
Yeah.
happen for the commission, is that's the amount of money that we really could use to keep improving and maintaining.
Right.
And so I'd like to move away from the worrying about what the surplus is and move more toward this amount of money into the CIP for the rec fund that way each year, so.
We'll have to be aware that as the infrastructure builds, we need to be careful about maintenance, so
Yeah.
there'll be.
I
And
understand.
that's
future.
that's
It
probably
takes a while.
more of a council decision too.
It is, but it's
course.
something that everyone has to talk about. Everyone needs to understand the dynamics of the funding and what we've been doing and how we're doing it. And at the end of the day, make sure that everyone's aware of if there's changes to keep that money flowing, one way or the other.
So my suggestion would be is that you make that your number one priority when we meet in our annual meeting. So that you discuss budgeting and you discuss the CIP expenditures and how they work. And again, if there's going to be any changes, how it best benefits the Recreation and Parks Department
Right.
versus how it affects the rest of the cities and how it functions.
Exactly.
And I think this will help us to have that discussion, this document we have tonight.
Yeah. Seeing where all the funds come or the revenue.
In past years, future years, changes.
Yeah.
So that sounds ideal. That if are you talking about as a commission setting the goals right now for next fiscal year, trying to work on that? I mean, I don't know if you're meeting in December, but December, January, because really by February,
You're already
hopefully we're
working
starting
on
to
it,
nail
yes.
it down, right?
Yep.
Yes,
Yeah.
the
exactly.
plan.
We're now aware of the schedule and we're trying to stick to
Yeah.
it.
Exactly.
We're going to plug in at the right place now.
So I should plan on whatever, at least, touching bases again around February.
Yeah.
Hopefully the goals are set, and if it helps for me to, it's not that many meetings away really, but whatever, if it helped in January or something to come in and talk
All right.
about it, I can certainly do that if you've got goals and you're thinking about cost and so on.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at, ballparking.
Ballpark, yeah.
If you guys, most of the numbers we ballparked so far have been really good on everything we've been doing, so.
And I think once the master plan is adopted, I think we're going to have things we want to pull off and talk
Yeah.
about
Definitely.
based on that plan.
Right.
That
And
we're
that-
going to want to start plugging in, maybe 5 years out or whatever,
Yeah.
but starting to look at, understanding what the costs will be. And some of that will be in the plan,
Right.
but you're going to want to react to what those numbers are with a,
And and that's where some of it comes into, as well as you telling us what needs to be maintained versus the wish list. Yeah, we want to add this, this, and this. Okay, but the roof needs to be done this year. End of
Right.
story. So that'll help as well.
and that's why ours doesn't have that.
Right.
On our plan, we're just looking at future capital projects more than maintenance.
And that was part of our promise to council at our last joint meeting, was being more involved in the budget process for the next fiscal year. So
And I think we did quite a bit of catch up in the past 5 years, as far as
definitely.
right, the Boyd Center, the gym and everything getting
Yeah.
fixed up, and replacement of the old playground, and a lot of these things.
Made a
So
lot of progress.
as long as it's the newer stuff, it's great. It's low maintenance, and but there might be whatever certain issues that are going to start fading. Like those new structures will be super low maintenance for quite a few years, and we have a metal roof on them and metal structures, so those should be long-term
And like,
low maintenance.
one of the things that comes up is the gym floor. Like, that's one of those kind of things.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Some of those bigger maintenance should get out of
Exactly.
CIP.
That's
Yeah, exactly.
gonna be-
They're gonna,
Small time
they're gonna
maintenance.
hit on CIP because they're too big to just fit in.
Right.
Need a plan.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Okay.
Greg.
All right.
Very
Thanks.
helpful.
Appreciate it.
Okay. 8B is the commissioner assignments. I'm going to review the committee assignments, discuss plans for meeting times and locations. I know we keep pushing this one.
Well, I would say this, can we table it again, because there are quite a few, like, some of your committees you're meeting Monday on one of your committees, correct?
Yes.
And,
We can, if you'd like, I mean.
Yeah,
it's
let's,
a-
because I would like,
it's
I would
gonna
like
be a
Commissioner
process, that's for
I would
sure.
like Commissioner Murphy here as well, because
Yeah.
we've had some other discussions as well, so.
I'll just throw out one, not that we need any more committees than we already have on here, but it may be, I did a webinar through ActiveNet on marketing, and I do recall that we actually had a marketing committee. Is that,
at one time, we did.
I mean, I don't know if
Do
we
you want a
wanna-
marketing committee?
It would be nice, to reintroduce that.
Okay.
Because, not that we haven't made strides forward to improve that, but it's always nice to have someone pushing that forward, especially after having going through that webinar today and realizing how much more we could do,
Yeah.
even just on, like they talked about Google and how to be effective on search engines like Google, and I'm not sure if we're doing it. So it's
Okay.
nice to have, and if someone, especially if someone on commission had knowledge of good technology. We do on the staff level, but it'd be nice
Mhm.
if someone on this level had it,
Okay.
or this body. But, so we can add that to the next.
We can
meeting,
add that
too.
to it. I do have one thing, though, and I wanted to throw it out to anybody here, and I already talked to Commissioner Murphy on this one, and Commissioner Wilson about the complete streets. The meetings are Wednesday at 2:30, so they're tough to get to. So if anybody has time on those days, it's the first Wednesday of the month, so it was yesterday. I wasn't able to attend, but if anybody is able to attend, please just shoot me a text or whatever, say, hey, I'm going to go. It would be nice to have PRC representation there.
Remind where the location is again, sorry.
I think it's here.
I think it's here.
First Wednesday, yeah.
It's here.
Of the month.
The first
yeah.
Wednesday at 2:30 here.
Okay.
I was going over the CIP, and there's a lot of stuff on here for complete streets.
Yeah.
And I know last month we had from the bike park talking about Grand Avenue improvements and stuff, and that's
Yeah.
here on the list.
Exactly.
So that's nice to see as far as
And I think it's going to be a bigger part too, especially as we talk about Soul Park
Yes.
and connecting everything. So having a representative would be
it'll
to-
become
yeah,
more
so if it-
relevant as projects.
Very
go.
much so. So
And I've been actually more recently just watching other cities and their complete streets, what it entails, and it's how there's new, like for sight or the blind, those pads that have been put in. So the
Mm-hmm.
more I am familiarizing with it, the more I see the improvements.
Yeah.
So
You're recognizing them as.
definitely, and then all of these, so it's all making more sense, and
Right.
as projects go on, it will, I think.
Can you make the 2:30s, or
involved.
is that?
I just got a new job to where Wednesdays is now, well, at 2 is kind of, it's in the
Too
middle of the day.
Yeah,
I'm
no, I understand.
starting in the afternoon. It's like, I'm an hour shy.
Okay.
But that's why I asked off if there's a YouTube video, because I know ours get recorded, but maybe just with scheduling, it might be hard for that to,
I'm not sure if they're recorded. I
Yeah.
doubt
I don't know.
it.
I would
think so.
yeah.
It wouldn't,
But-
wouldn't be hard to, but I'm not sure if they want to.
Yeah, it might just be a staffing thing or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
So we had discussed it, and I reached out to Commissioner Murphy, and he can't make Wednesdays. Most other days he's
can't
able to,
either.
but I know. So it's a tough time. It's not the most ideal time, but if somebody can.
I could probably often make those.
Okay. That'd be amazing if you could,
Yeah. Okay.
especially with the bike park
Mhm.
connection maybe. Okay. Anyways, I just asked that all of us try to make it a priority if we have some time.
Yeah.
Throw it on there, first Wednesday of the month. And that's it. And then you and I will talk about the youth commission.
Yeah, I've been meaning to email you, but my email was recently hacked. I have possible times and dates that we could do it, which I will talk to you about.
Perfect. All right. Other than that, we'll table it because I know Commissioner Murphy wants to get a little more involved as well. Moving on, after-school program.
Okay, I'll just give an overview of how it all goes, and then you can ask questions.
Yeah.
Most of this stuff you may already know, but I'm just going to throw it out there. So it's $10 a day, as you know. So whether you come 1, 2, 3, or 4 hours, so you can come up to 4 hours, but whether you come 1 or 4, it's still 10. The cost is $10. They're able to register online. So I'm going to pass this, the registration form. This happens to be Miners Oaks, but they're essentially the same between Miners Oaks and Topa Topa. So I'll pass this around. They all have coded to activity numbers, and so if you took this form and you went online, it would be relatively easy to find the day and the day you're looking for if you're just picking days or wanting to choose the whole week. So I'll just pass this form around. This is what parents are given. But we are encouraging online registration. Overall, it just makes it more convenient for the participant or the parent and office staff. Staffing. So we currently have 7 staff working that program. Typically, there's 3 on each site, and then we have 1 sub, basically. Of those 7 staff, 4 of those staff are CPR and first aid certified. We'll be offering another CPR and first aid training to the general public on November 12th, but those who aren't certified that are currently working our program that aren't certified, they've been invited to come to that training. I'm not sure of those 3 that aren't, if they're attending or not, but they have been invited. So basically, we have at Topa Topa, it averages about 35 participants a day. At Miners Oaks, it's anywhere from 20 to 25 per day. So I mentioned that we have 3 staff working on site, so you're looking at about a 1 to 10 ratio, staff to participant.
Do they do, what sort of activities? Do they do? The games, homework, reading,
So
all of the above?
Sure, I'll pass that around. We have a little calendar of what they do in the time period that they're there. So I'll pass this around, but essentially they have a quiet time sometime during the course of their stay there or their time there. It's a 30-minute quiet time, homework reading time. Once a week, they do a craft project. Then they have time where they can do board games and puzzles, and then another period where they can have outdoor play. So this calendar is Topa's calendar of just kind of rotational what they do. So I'll just pass that around. And while I'm passing that one around, you can all take one of these. These are just some photos of Miners Oaks after-school kids in the after-school program. Take one of those down and pass it around. What else about, so revenue to this point. So September was 10,000 in revenue. But that does not include scholarship monies yet that have yet to be drawn down. So people can use the $150 per child per fiscal year scholarship monies for the after-school program. They can be used for any activity. So that hasn't been drawn down yet. So what we're looking at is between September and October, these are estimates, about 20,000 in revenue and 14,000 in expense. That 14,000 includes staffing in, we provide snack for the kids during the after-school program. So that 14,000 includes both staffing and, again, supplies for the after-school program. So there's a $6,000, if you will, in the positive right now in the first 2 months, but cautioning that that does not include any of the recreation administrative time, and a lot of the programs that we offer don't factor that in. So what I'm saying is the program is doing well from a fiscal standpoint.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're today actually marked the 50th day of the after-school program since it started.
I missed the attendance. What's the attendance?
At Topa, it averages about 35 a day, and at Miners Oaks, it's 20 to 25 a day.
And
At $10, it's $10 a day, whether you come 1 or 4 hours a day.
So I'm sorry, I missed it.
That's okay.
Could you go over that? Do you guys have time for him to go over that again, the after-school program with me?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. It's $10 a day, 5 days a week.
Right.
Yeah, Monday through Friday, or when school is in session. So we don't offer. Some parents would have liked it that way, but we don't offer it when
On
school's
holidays.
out on
Right.
holidays.
A different program, maybe.
Yeah, a different
So
discussion
I
to
guess my
have.
question is, we're generating the income. Are we renting the facilities from the school, or what's our?
The school allows us to. Great question. The school allows us to use their site without cost. There is.
This is a program that's been tried at schools a variety of different ways. That
Yeah.
have been varying degrees of successful or not. And so now, instead of going to an outside contractor like one of the schools did, or running it internally like others have done, now it's a partnership.
Yeah,
So the
it was
benefit
Los
is-
Posas, it was Los Posas Child Care out of Ventura
Right.
that has ran it in the past, and actually, it was not financially profitable for them, and that's why they backed out of the agreement, from what I've been told.
So the benefit to the school is the fact that the children that are going to the school stay there for after-school care,
That's right,
which keeps them on the facility.
yes.
And then we're coming in and running programming for them, so they don't have to have a teacher or I remember back in the day, they had, a teacher always stayed over for 2 or 3 hours for after-school sports.
And they don't do that anymore.
And they don't do that, so we're picking up that slack. So they're donating the facility and we're
We're
providing
the care
the care and leadership.
service after, and that's just at 2 sites currently, Miners Oaks and Topa.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess the question I had for that was, how do we evaluate? Are we doing any type of evaluation right now, other than just saying attendance is up? And are we doing any type of a needs assessment? In other words, are the people that are allowing their kids to stay, are we asking them if there's anything they'd like to see in programming from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock or whatever?
Like I said, we're in day 50 of it, so every day is an evaluation, to tell you the truth. We've had staffing. I'll call them challenges. It's a tough time frame to find staff for, and we're constantly talking about programming and what can we add to it, what supplies they still need on site. So it is a daily evolving process right now, because it is new to us.
Right.
It's brand new programming, and certainly we've received our share of parent input as well. A lot of positive comments about, hey, it's great that the school provides it, because quite honestly, the truth of the matter is, the school really doesn't have to provide it at all. It's a
Well, I think it's a win-win.
a benefit and a perk to have
Absolutely,
it.
it's
Yeah.
a win-win. A win for the
So,
community and win for the Parks Department.
Yeah, and we are obviously communicating daily with the staff on site to say, what do you need? what are the supplies you require, what programs do you want to run, and what's that going to take?
So would we be calling this our Recreation Magnet School Program?
Sure, we can. So it is, as Randy brought up about evaluation, I mean, we certainly will evaluate it at the end of the school year to say, hey, because it has had a decent impact on office staff, and
Of course.
we've talked, some of the challenges have been staffing. The two biggest challenges have been keeping the staff and collecting fees.
Yeah.
That requires a decent amount of staff time.
Well, I think there's two things
at
to
the
look at,
department.
and one is that, and how is it impacting the department?
Yeah.
And then the other is what Randy's talking about, which is reaching out to your users and seeing,
Yeah, absolutely.
and maybe not even waiting a year, maybe doing half a year. and
No,
At
yeah,
that point,
we're
getting feedback.
I think if you
We're-
ask,
we're-
you'll
we're-
definitely get feedback. There's never a shortage of parental input.
Yes, with their kids involved.
Yes, exactly. So,
absolutely.
So, but both are really important. I
yeah.
think from the rec department perspective on how that's working, and then also from the user perspective.
We learn something new
I'm sure.
of course,
I
every
don't doubt
day,
it.
every week, and how to be more efficient on every aspect of that program. And it's a learning curve, and we're trying to do it as
I think it's
quickly
great.
as possible.
I'm so
Are
glad.
we? Sorry, go ahead.
Question on the payment. You showed us the registration. So do parents sign up for like the whole? Is it drop in, or you have to sign up for a big chunk of time?
Yeah, we have a variety. Some parents will pre-purchase weeks, and we have what's called our Thursday folder. So some parents know that this is I need Monday, Wednesday, Friday of every week. So just charge that to my card every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and there's no bones about it. And there are others that need, bits and pieces here and there, and they'll show up and they'll do the program. And certainly we're not going to turn anyone away without pre-payment, and then we have to track it down and
Chase them down.
and
Yep.
and we're getting, we found more efficient ways to do that. But like any collection, it's
Of course.
getting that parent to finally.
Do you have a punch card option where you can pre-buy without a specific day?
Yeah, we don't.
I think
Not
that,
yet.
if it were me as a parent,
Yeah.
that would be the option I would buy. Because the way I had my kids, I couldn't have told you which days I would use, but I would have very much
I do
preferred to
like-
give you the money up front and then just use it as I go.
Yeah, we do that with Zumba.
Yeah.
We do that with a couple
other
of our
programs.
programs where you can buy a card.
And I think that for this, it would be ideal because
Huh?
with some parents, if you just let them do that, they would prepay and then,
Get $100 card.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's,
Actually, a great idea.
there's another learning curve.
So here's something else too, is
Suggestion.
if I'm a parent and I choose to leave my child on that facility supervised by the Recreation and Parks Department, whose insurance do we fall under if an accident occurs?
It's us. They
So-
fill out a registration forms. It's not the exact activity form that they fill out normally, but they fill out a recreation department registration form as they would doing any other program.
That's what
So-
that's what I thought. So even if it's just a one-time drop-in, I still need to fill that form out.
Correct.
And so it seems to me that's the opportunity to either discuss a fee or to do something of that nature.
Initially, yes.
Okay.
Initially,
you don't have
yeah.
to do that every time.
And no, you fill that form out once, and
Once.
initially, yes, you say, okay, you want 3 days in this week, and they say yes, and payment is made. But then after that time,
You don't have their
you
attention.
don't.
You don't have that capture.
We're
point.
not,
Yeah.
it's
I like
not
the
on
credit.
site.
I like
but
banking the credit. It just seems like it's a
And I-
very efficient way.
It is.
And people know about, people are used to it.
And I don't want to make it seem like, truly, the majority of our participants
Of course.
and those in the program are
Yeah.
honoring their commitment to paying fees. Don't get me wrong there. It's just because it is daily, and there's just a lot of in and out of participants.
Well, and you're trying to, the staffing part is part of it too. You're trying to do this the simplest, most efficient way you can. And I think that if the prepaid just would give you one more option to
Sure.
do that, where that's not people pursuing people, they've already just agreed here, and then you're pursuing them when they run out.
Here's
A pretty good suggestion.
here's the most important side of it.
Yeah.
Cash handling practices. You don't want any cash being handed to
Right.
any of your
No,
employees.
not
So
on site.
it seems to me if someone could assign a credit card number and actually charge to it, or again, you have some type of entity that says, you know, you have a $100 line of credit, we'll bill back against it, but you don't want cash.
No.
It's just.
No, we don't accept cash on site.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Right.
Which is also
We
an
don't.
interesting thing for some people, if you don't accept cash on site.
We are taking checks on site, but we won't take cash. And again, maybe I shouldn't have, brought this to light necessarily, because maybe I've given the false impression that it's,
No, I don't.
it's run rampant. It
I don't
hasn't.
think, I don't think that's what anyone's worried about. I think we're just, now that you've brought it up, it's kind of
Sure.
looking at how you could best, and I could see how for some
Efficiency.
people, if they're dropping off and they can't pay cash, not everyone even has checks anymore. So, that's,
What we really want is online registration.
Yes.
Because they can just go, if they're at work and they're allowed to go on their computer at work, if they know, oh gosh, I'm not going to be able to pick up my child. And
Right.
that's where the scenarios come up, is I can't get my child today.
Right.
They could just go on the ActiveNet website and do it right there. So we're really encouraging those who are out there and in the
Yeah.
program, really encouraging online registration.
and then there's the follow-up with technology, because you have links.
Yeah, but
As a
on,
way to-
and on site, we have, all they have their registration forms, a copy of their registration forms on site with all the parent info for
Right.
emergencies, or that side of it we've got
Yeah.
well covered, and we have yes, for those kind of emergencies. We have a city cell phone at each site too,
Okay.
for staff to use if they need to call parents, or vice versa. Parents need to call.
Again, it just
Staff.
sounds like, the more you talk, the solutions just come forward. Again, if we have a city cell phone on site,
Yes.
we should be able to have a city cell phone that accepts bank cards.
Yeah.
So again, there's just too many ways to solve this problem.
Well,
It's
we
not a
did-
problem, but to
no.
help, to help the consumer. And then data collection is real important, because in turn, that allows you now to
You mean one of
reverse
those
market.
One of those swipe cards on the
Yep.
one of those swipe cards
Yes.
on the phones. But we did talk about, again, this is another learning curve process. Would it be advisable to have a laptop, a computer on site where
tablet.
we could process payment? So we're not quite there yet, because that takes staff training too. That takes
And it's new.
training,
Yeah.
and it's new, and it takes training for
Yeah.
those staff on site, and maybe in the future, it'll be a reality.
While you're washing 20 other
Yeah,
things.
exactly.
There's
Yeah, there are those logistics, absolutely, and that's why I say there is the proverbial learning curve going on.
So 2 questions for you. I would assume we are pumping the other rec activities at these after-school programs?
They're not as much as we'd like, but
Okay.
they are, this is a terrible sound. This was going to come off wrong. A captive audience.
Yeah.
So,
That-
yeah,
that's my point. I mean,
And you know what their age,
Captive.
and you know what their ages are.
And you-
So
you
can
would
market
imagine-
specifically to their,
yeah, and you would imagine most of the parents are satisfied with what's been going on. So, hey, here's our other
It
activities. that we have
definitely
going on.
comes up. I had I guess, good fortune of, this is the first time it came up. I subbed yesterday for the
Oh,
after-school
nice.
program at Topa Topa.
That's
So I got a
fantastic.
nice feel for, what it
Firsthand.
was like firsthand. And absolutely, my talk was what we do at the rec department. And I mean, I don't know that it's another training thing for after-school care staff to say, hey, get them informed of the programs.
Hey,
what
there's a
what
movie
we
night
offer.
Friday
There's
night.
a movie night. Why don't you talk to the kids about it? Because, of course, because I'm there daily and I know
Right.
everything about those programs. That's what I was doing when I was there for my 2-hour stint. But that's another training thing for the after-school care program. And
It's-
training is another big issue for
Right.
us.
How about staff to children ratios? Is there anything that we have to comply with?
There isn't, because we're not a certified childcare
It's not a license.
license, sorry, thank
Yes,
you.
facility.
Daycare
A
facility.
licensed childcare, but we are at 10-1, and I think that is, I don't know exactly what industry standard is for an after-school care program, and that would be something to look into, but our ratios are about 10-1, and that's how it is at our summer day camp too.
And the facilities are secured?
As secured as.
As a school.
As
As
a
a
school.
school.
As the school is, yeah.
There aren't no, it's a good question. There aren't lock gates there. If that's what you're asking, it's a
Right.
pretty free flow.
Well, it's just,
There aren't
it's
lock
like the
gates.
school. It's the same,
There's no more
Yeah.
more or less restriction for parent flow or general public flow as there would be.
And
in the-
custodial
during the-
staff? Again, I'm just talking from a recreation and parks standpoint perspective. For instance, we require our employees to be fingerprinted and have background. We're on a facility, or with the custodial staff or teaching staff, do they have the same guidelines as us?
The school district does.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all there.
So those are just the questions that that come to mind as we're talking through this.
And that leads
They
to
all
my
have to go
next.
through that.
Okay.
As you probably know,
everybody
our
does.
staff do for sure. The school district as well.
Yep. That's my next question was, last month we talked about it as well, CPR.
Mhm.
And you said 4 of the 7 are certified.
Mhm.
And we've invited the other 3.
Yeah.
Is there any way to make that mandatory?
I suppose it's a policy, it is a policy question. Do we make it mandatory? Do we make it pre-employment condition? I mean, we don't have it as a pre-employment condition
Maybe not
currently.
pre-employment,
yeah.
but you offer the class like something where you have to get this done within 60 days of
well, and you,
employment,
and you pay them to do it and you give them the class for free?
which you already do.
Which we have,
Right.
which we do. I mean,
already do
when they
that.
come, they get the.
Yeah,
the-
I think
paid
it's
to
something
come
that
and they get
should be
the,
mandatory.
the certification as well.
As an assistant coach for 14 years, every 2 years, we were certified, and the school district paid for it.
Yep.
So there's a 2-year program running. We do CPR training every year through Ojai Unified. So it'd be real easy for us to figure out how to attach ourselves to that program.
Well, and
have
Allison
our
Allison's
employees
been
just
teaching
go
it.
through it.
Allison's a certified teacher.
She's an instructor. So
you
she's
go.
been teaching it at
So-
the rec.
Yeah.
I personally feel like it's something we
November-
should make it mandatory.
November 12th, is that what
Yeah.
is that what the date I
So
said?
you're making a recommendation that it be a policy.
Whatever that
Yes.
Saturday is, yeah, Saturday, November 12th.
I
And
am.
that's not just for our throwing out a plug. It's not just
It's open to the
for-
public.
It's open to the public.
Anyone who'd like to get CPR certified.
CPR and first aid certified, the next one is November 12th.
Yep. I think that should be a mandatory.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it should be for all programs, but I would say specifically for after-school care.
Well, I wouldn't disagree. One of our staff that wasn't certified, was a OUSD staff member. So the schools, what I'm saying is schools don't make,
Right.
as far as I know, don't make, it isn't mandatory
Right.
for.
That doesn't make it okay, though.
I'm not saying
I
it's
know.
okay.
What-
I'm
what-
just saying what standard,
I-
you're expressing a standard of everyone. I
It's a
agree.
lot
it's
to ask
best-
when you offer the program, the certification, and you pay them to go already.
I know. I-
What-
It's
what
not
is-
much to ask.
I'm
What-
not-
what
no, it
is
isn't tough, man. I would disagree with you.
What is the resistance to that? Because I know this came up
Oh,
at the last meeting too.
There isn't resistance to it. It's just schedule. The employee schedule. It's not like they don't want. It's not as if they don't want to. There isn't resistance like I don't like to go to classes or
Right.
I'm intimidated by the classes. It's just we have one day,
Right.
and as Commissioner Ittner alluded to, maybe you say within 90 days. Then you give them
Well, or,
you could say it's mandatory within a specified period.
Yeah.
or maybe it could be as simple as you have, what, 3 people you need to get done?
Yes.
Talk to them about when they're available, since it's Allison,
Yeah.
and make it work
It
for
is.
them.
It's true. We could run
that
it
group.
separate.
Yeah.
It's possible.
I think, because if you have 3 people right now you need to get
Yeah.
done, instead of trying to get them to go to one class every month.
Yeah. But again, but I'll say this about that. And then we hire, that staff member leaves.
Right,
And then
I
we have a new
understand.
staff come in and they're not certified in CPR and first aid, and you say, well, okay, it's mandatory. So Allison, next weekend, train that person. So you do run into,
Of course.
how many trainings are you gonna do? Yeah. When I was hired, I actually remember it being one of my conditions was similar to what you talked about, is within this period of time, we would like you, not, well, they might have said we want you to get certified, which means mandatory. We want you to get certified in CPR and first aid.
So to me, it's solution-driven, and it should be driven by staff. My suggestion is you take it back to staff and you say, this came up in our last commission meeting, and ask your staff how they can achieve CPR training, and bring up all of your concerns, and let your staff answer it, because I guarantee you, they'll find a way to train one another. And it won't be as time-consuming as you think if there's a buy-in. I know I wanted to coach. So if I wanted to coach, I had to be certified. That meant I had to give 3 hours of one day every 2 years, because I really wanted to do that. If someone really wants to be a part of our recreation program, they're gonna buy in a 3-hour training every 2 years for nothing. It's nothing. If they really have a passion, and you seem to have hired passionate people in the last couple years, so it's I just don't see it being
No, they're not.
any resistance.
I don't think they are resistant to it. It's
Just convenient, it's convenient
It's a
schedule.
matter of
Yeah.
scheduling, but I think it'll only be a matter of time before they all are.
Right.
Within a short period of time, I
I
imagine.
think, having the class solves the need for the 3 people. I think and this is a topic for later, but, that dovetails into summer programming and contractors coming in and everybody, all the programming we do. How far do you want to take the CPR certification, being mandatory? That's something, again, we can talk about later.
Yeah.
But,
But most of the contracted classes are on-site, and again, we talked about the fact that we
I
have.
agree,
We have
but
always, at least within our own department, we are all, myself, Allison, Caitlin, Christie,
Right.
all of the on-site staff, office staff, are CPR and first aid certified, so, you
Well,
get
so
a
I-
contractor coming in for an hour, do we make it mandatory for that
Right,
contractor?
What I'm hearing, Adam, is you'd like to agendize this and have a discussion
yeah,
at a later date.
it doesn't even need to be in December.
Right, I mean, like, put it on
Before
the,
summer programming that we talk about.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I just have a comment too about communication, and now that you have a pretty steady group of people who are using the program, it would be interesting to be able to query them as to camps during breaks. Because sometimes they've worked, sometimes they haven't for us historically. And now you have a group of people that are regular users who are looking for daycare. And it would be interesting to ahead of the breaks, query them, using SurveyMonkey or something to see.
Would you be interested?
Would you be interested? And give them various different hours and find out what hours they're interested in. And so then if we're planning programs, it gives us the ability to plan knowing what the needs are. Because I know we've tried different breaks in certain camps, and some things have worked and some things haven't. And I think now maybe we can use this group of people as an indicator of what would be successful.
Sure. And my staff will just love that suggestion. Yeah, as I said, it's had a pretty decent impact. So,
Yeah.
but you're right. There is a need. There could be a need for.
And wouldn't you rather plan it knowing what they need so that it's
Yeah.
successful versus we try a lot to do things and we're doing it's best effort on what we think we know.
I think the term is proactive.
Yes, to be proactive about it and then really make sure that we're providing what people are looking
Could
for.
give it some direction, yeah.
Yeah. We haven't always had that opportunity. I think it's quite exciting to be able to ask people what they're looking for.
And have that, like you said, captive audience, so.
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me if there
Yeah.
was a decent amount of interest.
Yes, because now you know the people who would be at least your primary users, and then other people might find it too.
I think overall, though, it's been a great addition, you know,
Yeah.
it sounds
has.
like,
It has.
Thanks for
I
the hard
mean,
work.
Yeah.
I know it
I
was
know it
thrown
didn't
at you
start all
guys,
myself.
Kudos to all the other staff on.
and I know it's
at-
thrown
at
out
the
to you guys
department,
with
too.
like
They're really,
weeks before the school year started.
it was
so-
weeks before this, yeah.
So,
Handled it and got it done. I
yeah,
think
way
it's
to
great.
get it
Yeah,
off
we
the
did.
ground right away.
Yeah,
so.
it was tricky between the end of summer camp and then the start of the school
Yeah,
year. It
exactly,
was,
right.
Never a lull.
Yeah, a lot of the credit really should go to Allison too. She really took control,
on.
took
Well,
ownership
kudos to
of
her.
it, and
Yeah.
and made it work.
Yeah.
From making that registration form to hiring the staff, it was really her doing. So we'll give credit where credit is due. It was really Allison took that and ran with it, and
No, good job.
yeah,
That's a good manager's duty, delegate.
yeah.
Can't do it
Well,
all.
to the right person. Yes.
Exactly.
Can't do it all.
Yeah.
All those good hires.
Yeah. Yes.
Anybody have anything else on the after-school program? All right, staff reports, the bike park proposal, I think we kind of talked about. Do you have anything on that?
We got it.
Commissioner Farson, good?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
we got it.
Classes and events.
Okay, I'll just do some quick updates. We have, as I mentioned, the CPR and first aid training Saturday, November 12th. We have movie night, Wreck-It Ralph. So the parent night out movie is
That was the last one.
45 kids.
Nice.
That was
Some friends that
that was
went,
the Book
so-
of Life.
Yeah.
The movie we're featuring on the 11th, November 11th. Oh, I mentioned Wreck-It Ralph. So yeah, they're immensely popular, these movies, and
Yeah.
I'll just
We had some
I
friends
don't
who-
have a preview of the ones that are coming in the next activity guide. But
Okay. We had some friends who took and just dropped off one of their children. And that way they could take the other one like for some alone dinner time even, and they love it.
great.
So-
We have 3 basketball clinics, Sunday, November 6th, and Sunday, November 13th, from 1 to 2:30 p.m. at the Rec Department gym. Coaches will be head coach of Nordhoff, Matt Murphy, and assistant coach Dan Plashel. So they've already done 2 free clinics, and this is just a warm-up for our own basketball season, which we're accepting registrations for our basketball program. So again, November 6th and November 13th, Matt Murphy and Dan Plashel will be just running free clinics at the rec department. And that's for grades 2nd through 6th grade. What else do we have? Oh, so I just wanted to mention pottery class. We just started a new pottery session, and as mentioned in the last commission meeting, those classes are now being held at Nordhoff High School,
That's
taught by
wonderful.
the Nordhoff ceramics and teacher there at and so I just wanted to talk about online registration, which we want to keep plugging for. So we have 19 registered participants in the adult pottery class, and of those 19, 16 of them registered online.
Nice.
So
When is the
very
adult pottery
proud of
class?
those. So there's a Monday night class, runs 6:30 to 8, and a Monday and Wednesday night, 6:30 to 8 p.m. at Nordhoff. So that new session, and we have a youth class, just one youth class offered on Mondays, Monday afternoons from 3:30 to 5. We only have 7, so it's been quite a turnaround since we've mailed out the activity guide to see the influx, the increase in
Yeah.
adult participation.
That's great.
Yeah. What else do we have? I think that's about, and your volleyball drop-in.
Oh.
Friday night volleyball drop-in, which will start next Friday. with a parent volunteer. So that'll be Friday nights, 7:30 to 9 p.m. So not this Friday, but next Friday, similar to our other drop-in programs. It'll be 7:30 to 9 p.m. at a cost of $3 per person, ages 14 and older.
Great.
Rec department.
That's really nice that the volunteer is willing to do
Yeah.
that. Thank you for the volunteer.
yeah,
Who's the
yeah.
volunteer? Sorry.
Can't think of her name. If
No problem.
Allison was here, she'd be able to tell you, but,
That's okay. Next
Sorry.
time.
yeah. And then, I know Commissioner, Chair Dutter will be very happy to hear this. Co-ed soccer league in January will happen.
Mhm.
6 on 6.
Nice.
Yes. And then CPR and first aid, I'm sorry, I'm jumping down to activity guide already. CPR and first
ahead.
aid class will continue to be offered. We'll have another offering in February and March. So I'm kind of talking a little future activity guide, which will be coming out mid-December. We're bringing back our dog training classes.
Nice.
They had gone away, but the same instructor is asked to come back, so we're more than happy to put that back on the
And
offerings.
Are we
So-
mailing the mid-December one out to
Yes.
everybody again?
Yeah, we will
Right.
continue, I mean, we have no intention
That's the
of
course of action.
stopping the
Okay.
mailing. Yeah,
Good.
that'll continue. Actually, I said mid-December, we're hoping for the first week of December
Okay.
for those guides to go out. We've added, it also mentioned in the last commission meeting, because of the increase in registration for the senior fitness class, we're adding not only they're held on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 to 11, we're adding a 4 to 5 p.m. time slot because they've just increased, once again, probably due to the guide mailing.
Yeah.
You know, that's how most of them have discovered it, through mailing of the guide. So I kind of jumped down to the activity guide.
That's all right.
So,
How about Ojai Day?
Ojai Day. Amber gave me a quick update on that. We had 219 vendors, roughly 30 more vendors than the previous year. 75 of those vendors were businesses and nonprofits from Ojai, because there's been rumblings of, outsiders coming into the event. So a third of the vendors were Ojai in town. We had a great Ojai volunteer turnout, so that's always nice. A lot of great volunteers. A couple of new things that were added was chalk art at the Libby Fountain. I don't know if anyone saw it.
I got to watch them bring it to life. Our booth was right there.
Oh, yeah?
It's really wonderful.
And then the small stages weren't that was an additional feature. I don't know if you noticed the
Yeah.
little just platform stages, but apparently those didn't go over all that well. She didn't give any detail about that, but just looking to revise that and
Yeah.
make that better. But if you were there, I don't know if everyone here attended, but
Oh,
once
yeah.
again, it was pretty well-attended,
Seemed like it.
spectacular event. I haven't heard any negative, from vendors about not being happy with the experience.
It seemed good, yeah. I mean, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
At least we had a lot of fun.
I thought so. Oh, I'll just pass this around, more show and tell, just volleyball information that I already talked about. This is just a draft of the front cover of the activity guide. We usually, in the winter, January through April guide, we usually feature the gymnastics program, and then you'll see a few other key photos in here, the senior weight training, the pottery class, and our youth basketball program. So I'll just
Alright.
pass those around for your.
On Ojai Day, I met Adriana?
Close. Ariana?
Ariana?
Yep, Ariana.
Pretty close.
And,
Yeah, so it was nice to meet her.
yeah, good.
Seems like she's ready to go.
She is. And
So,
it's
Be
been
a valuable asset, it sounds like.
It already has paid dividends. She is bilingual, so it's really nice to walk into the office and hear those communications with some of our participants.
Right.
That she can just easily communicate over the phone, which has happened quite a bit, and in office. So that's been
It's great.
a helpful asset.
Great.
Yeah.
Commissioner vacancy.
Still working on that.
Still working on that?
Yeah, we've
I was gonna talk to Allison tonight about Facebook. I haven't seen it on Facebook.
she just did the postings. She did the Facebook posting yesterday for it.
Okay.
I think your wife liked it on Facebook.
Probably.
She did.
She's on there a lot more than I am. but
Yeah.
yes.
Anyway,
Um,
so it's on our. It finally got. It
Okay.
did take a while, but it
No
is
problem.
currently on our Facebook page and our web page.
Okay. I keep putting out feelers as well. So
Yeah, I think there were some inquiries, but no actual applications yet.
that's fine. Word
There was one.
will spread.
Yeah.
Great. Any other info?
Yeah, well, I could tell you a little bit about upcoming, hopefully I brought it with me. Oh, yeah, city council. So as you probably know, may or may not know, so the regular meeting that was supposed to be for Election Day, November 8th, was canceled. And they are having a special meeting on November 15th. And on that meeting, I think it was brought to attention, or maybe it's always on there, but that's opportunity for commissioners to be there and do, it's usually during just after maybe the public comment portion of the meetings where you can give commissioner reports.
Yes.
So, and that's usually to the chair, but I don't know, maybe vice chair could attend, or any of the commission members could probably come and give a report. during
You know,
those meetings.
actually, I have that on my sheet, and I just wanted to reiterate that. You know, the group that comes the most is the Arts Commission, and then the second group is HPC, and we never see you. And I remember when I was on the commission, it was, I wasn't good at it. But I think if you guys take this chance to come forward, and it doesn't have to be Adam, you guys could do it on a rotational basis. But someone should come and speak to all the good that's happening in this community regarding recreation and parks. It just, just taking tonight's meeting and taking 5 minutes and talking to it, the formation of the youth, the high school group, there's just so much information and so much good happening. And I know that we're supposed to speak to it, but it would always be better if it came from one of you. So I can't ask enough to please make the 15th and really talk and speak to all the good that you have done and all the good that the Recreation and Parks Department is doing.
Sounds good.
Okay, then the next city council meeting that was supposed to be on the 22nd, of course, got bumped due to the Thanksgiving holiday. So now there's going to be a special meeting on November 29th. And on that, at that meeting, there'll be an update on the city budget. They'll be talking about fee schedule too. There's going to be looking at potentially approving a new fee schedule. I don't know if it'll be a discussion item anyway, actually not approving it, but just as a discussion item, fee schedule. And we're talking about adjusting some of the fees for activity guide and
Are we gonna see that
picnic
before that
areas.
goes?
What's that?
Will we see that before that we won't see that before that goes.
No.
Typically,
not
when
be-
there've been fee
not be-
changes, we've seen it before it goes to,
Well, you might.
Historically.
Well, it's just a discussion item right now, and I don't know what's going to actually be brought before council.
well, as just the rec piece. We typically,
Yeah.
it's come before our commission before it's been pushed forward.
Yeah, well, it wasn't ready to come before you actually, because we're actually, there's still internal
Debate.
the discussion about
Can
what to
we-
do with those fees, specifically activity guide, picnic area.
I think those are
Gotcha.
discussions that should happen
Well,
here as well.
okay, and they can. It is, believe me, that fee schedule is far from,
We've done it before.
Sure.
I mean,
Well, when
Randy
we-
remembers.
when we get,
I-
when we get to that part of the, what you'd like to have agendized, we'll,
But that'll be after the fact. So
well,
But it's just a
it's
discussion.
it's the
for
first
them,
discussion,
okay.
but I think what would be good though is if you're gonna have something to give to council before the meeting on the 29th, can you just email it to all of us? If we're not emailing back and forth, I think
sure. I
you
could
can
tell
then
you
get some
what-
feedback
What,
directly from each of us.
what might be proposed, and that will, there's already, even within our own department, the real good chance that it'll be changed. Anyway,
Okay, but whatever.
I understand
No,
what
no,
you're saying.
I just mean whatever you're gonna send to council, when you decide on what it is you're gonna send to council,
Mm-hmm.
send that out to the whole commission. We'll understand that we can't, there's no group emailing
Group
on it.
email back.
But each of us could give you, if we have, or choose to, a reaction
Yeah.
to what's going forward.
what we may propose.
Yeah,
And we should put that on our agenda as we
Okay.
go forward, but we'll talk
yeah,
about that.
that's a future agenda item, but the
Yeah.
other part isn't. It's-
Sure. And then, yeah, that's, I think, all that pertains, although I noticed in my notes, and this is more of a public works thing, you saw the repaved
Parking lot, yeah.
Well, our north parking lot at Sarasota, it'll be, it is actually on
It's
the
in there.
CIP.
Mhm.
It
That
is. But just as a reminder, it is in this fiscal year, and Greg mentioned that it would be spring, early summer, before the
Nice.
end of the fiscal year. We'll get a similar upgrade,
Yeah,
similar to what happened here at City Hall
looks
for
better.
that
Looks
north
good.
parking lot, yeah.
How
all I
about the
have.
Sarasota master plan? Have you heard back from?
They have given us their full narrative and report back. It's just a matter of Mr. McClary and I going through that and seeing if we have any questions about it before
Before it goes to council?
before it comes back before you and then goes to council. So Steve and I need to have a look at it first, then we want to give it to you
So December?
if you,
Yes,
if
please.
you'd like.
If we could push for that.
Okay, so we'll get.
That way we can
to
get it-
future-
Because we don't want to hold it up.
Okay.
Because then we
I'll
can
add
get it to
that.
the council quickly, and then we can get the basketball court instead of the light poles, it sounds like.
Okay, I will add that to the, I'll add that to the December.
Well, the other reason I want it in December is because as we discussed with our CIP,
Yeah.
those are projects that we want to be able to place
Exactly.
before February when we're working with Greg.
And if Greg comes back in January or February, we start talking, exactly. Perfect.
It all.
Okay, got you. So far I have skate park lights for, well, we don't want to skip,
Yeah, we'll get there.
we'll get there, okay.
Okay. Any other staff reports? Good?
No, that's all I have.
Okay. Any comments on that? Anybody? All right.
Thank you.
Any commissioner reports, comments? No. We are meeting at Soul Park on Monday. Allison and I think you were copied on that,
I will be there.
to discuss our possibilities out there. So,
Very exciting.
yeah, once we do that, then once we come to an agreement, then we'll discuss it with the county. But
Well, I mean, you're going to look for possibilities and then we'll move from there, right?
exactly. But this is the first one
Yeah.
of us walking the facility, figuring out what we want to do.
I've been having my once a week lunch. I go out there and
Yeah.
trying to
Wander around and think.
wander around. And
I know.
Yeah.
We were out there 2 weeks ago for a big picnic, and yeah, it's like, oh man,
Yeah, it was,
possibilities.
yes.
I will give you a pitch that I've heard from some people, some very close to me and others not as close. The Frisbee golf course.
Yes.
There's an active group who was willing to fundraise already and move
Yeah.
on that. So if you'll add that to your list to discuss,
Definitely.
it's a lovely spot for it.
It is.
I was pretty surprised to actually see the dog park with several people in there today.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Typically isn't, but today there was quite a few.
Yeah. So that's all I have. Anybody else, anything? No? Council liaison. Councilmember Haney.
So
We've talked to him a couple times
Good
tonight.
evening. I've been very interactive tonight. I miss this group. It's funny you said Soul Park. I have it on
It's on your list?
my
There you go.
list, and I was cleaning the office, and I came across a Soul Park packet, and I actually have their revenues. So I'd like to pass that on to you,
That'd be great.
okay? And then I remember asking if I could be a part of whatever you're doing.
Yes,
So just invite me if you want me there.
I will. I'll shoot you a text message.
And I too was there 3 weeks ago for my granddaughter's first birthday. And what I find interesting about the complex is that there's no one there.
Yeah.
But the activity center is in the back. So it seems to me if you're gonna do something, you need to look at what you can do at the front of the park to actually show people that that the park can be used.
Yeah.
Because it was dead. I mean, there was maybe 5 people until you reached the dog area. And there were 6 or 7 people in there, and then we had 60, 70 people come to this first birthday party thing. Never heard of that many people coming to a 1-year-old's party, but times are changing. Times are changing. So I do have that information for you. I'd like to share it with you. Again, talking about the liaison to council, just if you guys can, I just can't talk, enough about that you guys need to come share. So figure out how to do it. And if you're afraid to speak before council, we all are. So write 5 things that you want to tell, and just read it and state it, and that way it gets done quicker. I did a lot of interacting, so I don't really have a whole lot to say other than Maya. How is your group going? Is it together?
Yeah, I actually got a few people from Attilahaw who were interested in the position, and I actually got a lot more people even at Nordhoff and Villanova who wanted to come, so I'm pretty sure we'll have a full youth committee when it happens.
And I think one of the why I ask is, when I was on the commission, we heard this so often, that there's nothing for young adults of your age to do in this community. That group needs to identify the needs of your age group and what we can do, and start getting it into the recreation and parks system so that we can program. We're not gonna do after-school programs at the high schools or the middle schools, but we can still do other things at the recreation center.
Yeah, there's
Maybe we will to them at Matilla.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk going around about how, people are just, the high schoolers are talking about how there's nothing really for the young adults to do, and they'd like to see an increase in, activities and, events that could, involve the young adults.
Yeah. So I think it's important what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you guys are bringing it back. Remember, we were talking about actually disbanding it. So I'm glad that there was that you guys looked at it and said, no, we can encourage this and actually create something here. So I think it's a great opportunity.
Well, kudos to Maya for jumping
Yeah.
on it too and
Yeah.
spearheading it.
You guys have any questions for me? Anything regarding council? I don't think we're gonna go in depth on the fee structure. I think we're gonna talk about a master fee.
Okay.
And there's staff is putting together, they've hired someone to actually review and write. So I don't think there's gonna be any discussions per se about actual fees
Okay.
increases. So that's why I don't think you've received them yet. But they will come to you before they come to us. So, okay?
If you know any civil engineers that are looking for some pro bono,
Pro bono work,
Yeah.
yes.
Well,
pass that along if you could. So,
I'm not a civil engineer. All right, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
All right, future meetings.
agenda items. I think
Agenda
I
items.
had down skate, Ojai lights.
Yep.
Fee structure,
Yep.
that's what I have.
Sarasota master plan.
There's a master plan, yes.
And I have CPR, but I put March, so we can.
that's good.
We can revisit that in March.
Oh, reserve it for March. All right.
And then we have first of the month.
Oh, and
Um,
I think we have,
Yeah, that's when it is.
we have one on here that's CIP and Planning Public Works, April.
Yeah.
Greg said February,
Yeah.
so let's switch
Can
from
we
April
change
to
the April
February.
to February?
I'm sorry.
It's the one that's on there.
Oh,
We have it as
okay.
April, let's move it to February, because that was his suggestion.
We'll do our legwork in January and then meet with Greg in February.
We're gonna see all those minutes.
Yeah.
for the Next meeting. It would be so exciting, and you'll have to.
We'll be making
read
motions
through
left and right.
approve all of this.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Adjourn.
I thought it was great that Sunday said vote, but you didn't say who to vote for.
Good on